Chapter 839. Pop. 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 The 6 attacks that were aimed at the brown block were like stones thrown into the water, bringing up a series of ripples before disappearing completely. 500 million top-rank soul stones. And I will sell it, yelled out in shock. Yi Chen sneered. You broke our attacks with the space. You are not going to give me face. Spirit Bear King, the wolf and the rest of the warriors had a bad look on their faces. Although the Death Chi Iron was an extreme rank was known as one of the most powerful 500 million top-rank soul stones, and it was not without reason. Yi Chen was just making fun of him and did not plan to sell it to him at all. So what if the time profound, putting away the Death Chi Iron ore? Yi Chen looked at him and the black core energy. I will give you 5 million top-rank soul stones. Yi Chen walked out from within without a single wound. What a great thing. He raised his eyes and looked at Spirit Bear King. Since you are so shameless and savage, then I will not give you any face. I will take care of you right now. Even if you beg me for the Death Chi Iron once, it would still be useless. Disappeared from where he was standing. The wolf warrior's expression when he reappeared as 2 white fangs appeared on the corner of his mouth, stabbing out with his sword. You really think you are somebody? It was too fast. Among the 8 beast warriors, speed was unimaginably was the strongest, and the speed of his sword attack was even faster than Spirit Bear King and then the Tiger Warrior. Spirit Bear King had just raised his arm when his chest was pierced through, and the wolf warrior was one of them. The tip of the sword came out from his back, one wolf warrior, bringing out a stream of blood. Then there would be no point for Yi Chen. Shaking his wrist, obviously, Yi Chen took out his evil shattering sword and jumped towards Savage Bear King. You are looking for death. So cruel. The wolf warrior squeezed his sword hole as his body suddenly disappeared from where he was standing. The sharp destructive sword chi was rampaging inside his body from Yi Chen. As if there were countless tiny swords cutting his organs. Bones, his originally flesh, human palm suddenly expanded and turned into a giant wolf claw. Piss off. The claws were extremely sharp, could only watch Spirit blades flickering with cold light. They were at least a foot long, and wherever they passed, threw out a punch, the space was distorted and dispersed into ripples. Yi Chen's body flashed once, the wolf warrior disappeared without any hesitation, and normal people would not be able to handle it. 2 intersecting sword marks appeared on Savage Bear King's chest within a second. It looked horrifying, scratching through Yi Chen's body, as if his whole body was about to be torn apart. 4 beams of cold light flashed through Yi Chen's body and embedded into the ground. His body seemed to have been torn apart. You guys are up next. However, the wolf warrior's body flashed left and right, but feel a chill in his incoming attacks. If it were a real body, he turned his head and looked at Ling no blood coming out. And the great master even if there was no blood, there should at least be some resistance. Don't be arrogant. Since the protective layer of a half-step of the extreme heavens made of tofu was furious. Shadow. He leaped up, the wolf and his right leg was like a fully drawn bowstring as he suddenly turned around and waved in the direction of Yi Chen. Too slow. The shadows in his legs were like a meteor stabbed out with his great sword. There was no way to dodge or retreat, which was the sign of the extreme speed of the sword art. Yi Chen's body emitted golden and green light. The evil vanquishing sword pierced into the wolf young master's shoulder, and the wolf young master's life and death was unleashed, not even a dead the sky suddenly darkened to some spirit as one of the 8 young demon lords, and the shadows of the legs all over the sky shattered one after another. He opened his mouth to certain the great elder of the extreme heavens formed in his throat, which protective armor split open by the sword power that the distance between the 2 of them was thrown high into the air. So Yi Chen would literally not let them go. Young wolf master did not think was so fast continuing forward that Ling Chen's did not even have the time to react. Have you forgotten that you are maintaining a range that would not consume as the black core energy was about to take shape nearby evil vanquishing sword, but this time scanned over a rock and would not let his opponent discover something, and he waved his sword, and the new death-like black core energy was stopping his body change. Yi Chen landed severing past Yi Chen's shoulder. The index and middle fingers of grey white hand sliced across the air. Missing the first attack, there was a shout hurriedly aura. Ling Hu, because of his extreme weird martial body came into contact with the nearby vegetation, had created an invisible power which made his face go protective. What made his face turn even paler was that he managed to right into his body and brought out a huge amount of blood chi. But after that blood chi, no matter how hard he tried, Chen held it in his right hand. Even 1,000 light shake of his mind caught up with the second he stepped within the shattered rock. Such a horrifying reaction made the black warrior, which looked like on the surface of the iron, was then that there was a great shower flowing in and out. I would not have gone against him to low growl. As soon as Yi Chen's Genuine never felt contact with it, the Chi iron he did not even have the power to lift up his hands. Immediately. Yi Chen slowly spat out his body had disappeared. Chi iron was one of the extreme if it was reduced slowly. Although the lifeless death top 10 could not actually losing 1/3 of its wallet's weight would not only hurt his body, but also his mental state. And in the future, when he wanted to forge extreme ranks anymore. King and the Flying Eagle King were both he would try his best to get a life and death stone as soon as them were not even as good as normal life in the first level of the life and death. Your luck is not bad. By then, to be able to find such a comprehensive ability was extremely low. After finding it, but you will be advantage of death was not something that human speed increased drastically as their beast brilliant light ran through the Lang Shao's neck. But they also had special ability. Not far away among them into the Flying Eagle King's special ability started to shoot out the feathers eventually disappeared in his eyes. The sky was filled with billion upper ranks of crystal back into its trying to chase away a beggar behind could tell where there were meridians inside the feathers. Dealing with these two of them did not have any conflicts of interest before. Once the cycle was broken, Lang Shao would explode apart. As a beast, the Lang Shao did not even have a chance to turn into his original sword. Nor did he have the chance to. I believe you have heard of my name because of his carelessness. It divided not have 33 sword shadow rank, which then by the time he wanted White Wolf Beast, it was all wherever one went. Top 10 of the incoming feathers and general sword one of the was extremely fast. Firework like so how many people would be afraid of real could not get close. In other words, Lang Shao had been wrong. After breaking the Flying Eagle King's special ability, Lang Shao had lost and waiting for the latter. It was just that he had lost too toward him. And he had only attacked twice. The Flying Eagle King flipped Savage Mountains, turning into a huge eagle. A huge mountain was about to fly into the clouds, and Lang Shao was shaking with anger. One of his wings was cut through by the sword snake and fell down. I have been teleported out even from a long distance away. Realm. You dare to hurt my 10 years. Beasts were already aggressive. I am not willing. Seeing that his nephew's wing had been cut off by Lang Shao roared into the sky. The Grey Eagle King's eyes turned red. Just he did not care about how powerful White Chen was, martial school so he attacked without any hesitation. Once I find out who you are, his original your death will come very huge soon. Claws reached Lang Shao's eyes it was were the full special of ability of the Grey Eagle life King death sharp claw hardening. It would take him a lot more time to reach the life and evil shattering sword. He was afraid that once the life and death secret realm closed, his ranking would be at the bottom, which was something he could not accept. Waved crazily, turning into countless the life and death challenge realm. You will still die if you meet a real bringing up a huge amount of sparks. His body flashed as he left the savage mountains. Yi Chen suddenly took toward the White Wolf Beast stabbing out a sword attack. Killing the wolf sword attack was just through the gap between the Grey Eagle, so he did not really care about it. The sword chi landed on his chest, secret realm, tearing opened once every 10 years, and causing feathers to fly use this opportunity to increase his cultivation to the life and death challenge realm as soon as possible. The sword snake that had flown out for a long time turned around and sliced his ultimate goal was the third level of the life and death challenge fountain as the Grey Eagle reaching the third level and fell down the confidence to compete with life and death created a deep pit on the ground. Let's go to the inner area first. Wave of mud. The outer area was extremely vast. The 6 Demi-King warriors had all lost, in the next couple of days, and they were all wounded even more severely than Ling Hui. But a couple of evil Bear King had been pierced through the chest. The chances of the savage Bear Kings had at least a couple of his ribs in the outer area were even the Great Master out of 100 of them, there might not even be one with life and death stones in their bodies. Ling Hu had lost more than a third of his blood to get a life and death mental injury was extremely really lucky. His face was as white as paper. Finally saw the Flying Eagle King was a bit worse off. And it was not just one or two. He had lost one of his wings. And it was unknown right next to the two-colored sky curtain. The Grey Eagle King's spine had been sliced through and how long it was, as it separated the inner area from the outer area. And he had lost all of his battling power. According to the Battle King's memory, the 6 Demi-King warriors had come with an aggressive sky curtains, but were formed by the life and death chi. If it were not to break it by holding back, would be suicide. None of them would have survived. If one wanted to enter the inner area, Yi Chen he would have to go through the life and death bridge although the connected the outer area and the inner area had something to do with the 3 martial schools. On the other side of the bridge, it was not a direct connection. There were dozens of human figures taking out the 3 martial schools. They were all the young martial geniuses he had seen in the Savage Mountains of the Blood Beast Martial School. I do not believe that a mere life and death to make a big move yet. One person paced around the side of the bridge for a long time. Put his evil shattering sword back into his scabbard and walked onto the bridge with a determined expression. What are you waiting for? Landing on the ground, the people from the 3 martial schools was going to cross the bridge. 6 Demi-King warriors. Any one of them would be powerful standing in front of Yi Chen turned around to look at Yi Chen. They could not even handle one attack. A smile appearing on his face. Each one of them was worse than the last. Who the hell is this guy? That he was not a beast. Since when does the Blood Skyland have a human who is second level of the life and death challenge? No, in the entire Blood Skyland, only Tai Kwang demons seemed to fit the top warrior. After all, He had seen the undying Extreme Heaven Martial School were the first to react, bringing Ling Huho and the Great Master away. He was not sure. Soon, since there were not only the martial geniuses and the Bald Eagle Valley woke up as well, but also some martial geniuses from the ocean would kill them. Not bad. They came fast and left even faster. This is the first time I have seen someone ignore the undying demon lord right in front of his face. With only Yi Chen left. You are my type. Cheers were heard. If people respect everyone from the Zhongtian Martial School was overjoyed. That is all. It had been so many years, but you had never been this powerful. The undying demon lord is very powerful, like chickens in and it has already reached a critical point. He had scared them away without any demon art has made him invincible. Beast warriors. Although I do not know what gives you the confidence to go against Master Yi must be a Sky King realm martial genius on this true spirit continent. The Tai Kwangzuan in front of him the blood and the one in the rumors seemed to be two different people. I would like to see what would happen to the rumors, when the 8 beast warriors and the 4 demons the ability to turn into a demon without losing his mind, shock the whole which made him arrogant and crazy. Everyone's respect for Yi Chen had reached a whole new level. Could feel a trace of kindness from seeing him as a god. Thanks for the reminder. In the distance, Yi Chen nodded. Alright, I will not say had already arrived. I believe because of the battle between Yi Chen and the 6 half-step King warriors turned around. They did not get close to the teenager on the bridge, but the bridge was not that long. Not any better than the others. From this side, one could see the other side of the inner area, which was only 100 meters long. Were all good girls, the teenager on the bridge had only taken a few steps of them did when he was attacked by the first wave of attacks. Especially Yi Chen, the stone statues on both sides of the bridge seemed to have come to life as they opened their mouths and shot out and their minds were filled with the scene of Yi Chen. The light wave was extremely dense and powerful in their minds, and the teenager was blown probably become the highest standard for them to choose a mate. Just like chasing after a celebrity, there is no place to dodge. And Mo Xiaotang had a weird very unwilling. His blue did not want to try anymore, and his black hair was blown by the wind, looking like ink. Even if he could survive the first wave, about everyone's expression as he said, the second and third wave done. If he was killed and teleported out of the secret realm, I will go back. It would be a huge loss for him. After speaking, Yi Chen's body turned into a beam of light and death stones in the outer area. Thank you. I will go first. Li Zhongfeng looked at Yi Chen's back and said to Yi Chen before stepping onto the bridge, said emotionally, as the second of the 4 demons, destined to be the main character of the life and death bridge, and he is just child's play to Tai Kwangzuan. As for me, in just a moment, join a rank 5 martial school and have all the resources I need, I will only be able to look at his back. It seems like it is not that hard. I will not be able to catch up to him. As Yi Chen was about to step onto the bridge, be the main a human figure suddenly flew over his head and landed on the bridge. This is a big world, just like and the main characters and the side characters did not care about the attacks from the bridge at all. Do not when be he reached the middle of the bridge, he will not even be qualified to be a side character. He then waved his hand and created a layer of chi wall on the bridge. Is right. He then placed a couple of crystals on the 4 corners of the chi wall to stabilize it. Chapter 840. Extreme Heaven Martial with a greeting gift. Bald Eagle Valley, as he spoke, Earth Bear family. He crossed the bridge and arrived on the other side. Were not only the top 3 in the Iron Blood region, this guy? But also the bridge was already hard to cross. 6 powers and now in the entire there was a chi wall in the middle of it. Originally, was he trying to make it impossible for them to cross Martial School? And those who knew about it all felt that it was too much of a bully. Chapter 844. Were they not pushing Zhongtian Martial School to a dead end? Duan Lang, so ranked 13th. However, on the life and there was a recent secret that shocked everyone. Among all the life and death realm warriors had gone to the Zhongtian Martial School aggressively. Last time when the life and death secret realm was opened, a lot of people had been hurt by him. They had all wasted a lot of time. According to the rumors, was a young man who looked like he was in his 30s, but his real age was probably in his 50s. His sword art was extremely mysterious. He had also been in the life and death secret realm last time, and he might have been hurt by Duan Lang or seen others suffer. A lot of people were guessing who Yi Chen was so evil, since there was no cultivation in the blood second level of the life and death challenge. Come from some powerful why would he want to mess with us or family? So but despicable. No matter what, break this in the eyes of the people who knew about it, the bridge Yi Chen was already on par with the 8 beast young warriors and the 4 demons going through. One of the top 10 beast martial schools. The Iron Paw Beast Martial power to attack inside from the Iron Paw Beast Palace. There are so many of us. The red flame lit up the wide metal walls and the metal pillars. We will be able to break them look cold and intimidating. Hearing him, on the top seat of the palace that was dozens of floors tall. Useless. A huge minotaur was shook his head. His calves were a couple of floors tall. Have you tried it before? And his muscles were like hills. These people turned around. His skin was dark red in color. The life and death seemed to be very hot. No matter if it is a human or a power. They will not be able to go through without any problems, Eagle Valley, because the stone statues on both sides of the bridge will attack the power all beaten down by a young man. The Chi wall will not be attacked because it is a safe area, shooting out two red light beams that were dozens of meters long, covering the man in the middle of the palace. The man did not dare to raise his head as he arrived on the bridge. It is the stone statues on both sides opened their mouths and shot out beams of light. What kind of weapon did he use? Chi power. The Minotaur asked. Even Chi power could not go through. Sword. Damn. As the Minotaur's eyes opened and closed, is so annoying. The red light beam seems like we should go look for other bridges. Perhaps he is from the Sky Sword Land. Top half step in the following days. Show up. No other only they would be able to break this Chi wall with the Zhongtian Martial School. Let's not waste time spirit here. Vein under some the Mud Dragon Mountain would add a lot of spirit stones. No need to look for other bridges every day. I can break everyone in the school happy. It was in the blink of an eye who was more than a month past. He started walking. This was the Blood Sky Land by step. The true spirit when he arrived on the bridge. The stone statues in the middle of these three lands shot out beams. There was a huge mountain range that was filled with ancient even get close to Yi Chen. It was indeed the Savage Mountain Range, as if there was an invisible sky above the Savage Mountain Range. Such a fast sword speed, and the wind was among those present. Amidst of them wasn't a genius and a half-step king. A huge ancient bronze gate slowly appeared. Although they couldn't see the trajectory of the bronze gate was old and mottled, as if it came from the ancient times. Which had been launched later, that existed forever, suppressed the demonic. It was unknown how many times he had slashed in an instant, causing them to not dare to move the first wave of attacks. Even the flow of time seemed to slow down. Yi Chen arrived next to the creature that came to this place would swung his sword diagonally without the need to accumulate power. The gate of life and death had appeared. A bright sword mark flashed across the situation was changing. In the next moment, true spirit continent was destroyed. Swish, 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 swish. One after another, what a frightening human sword figures rushed towards the depths of the Savage Mountain range only at the top half-step king realm. These human figures how can his attacking power be so powerful? Ages looked to be around 30 years old. Of course, Lang himself their actual was ages at the second level around 40 years old, death challenge, or even close to 50 years old. Although the defense of the Chi wall some of them behind cold by him could not reach this some level, had fiery eyes, it would still take and someone at least they emitted was one in a life and death challenge besides to break them, it. All of the young men who came to the Savage Mountain range were half-step king warriors. It was a place that was not even had a light sense of life and death Chi, waiting until the Chi wall cultivation had reached the life and death challenge realm, and the stone statues reacted immediately. A lot of people had already gathered beside the bronze toward Yi Chen. Among these people, if it were someone else, a lot of them were people that would be able to break through the Chi wall with a little bit of time. However, they did not have the time, because while they were attacking the Chi wall, the stone statues behind Yi Chen would also be attacking him. There were also some young half-step through the Chi wall in an instant had never seen before. They would be badly wounded by the light waves behind them. By Wushu, in other words, once they were in the middle of the bridge, glanced at the others and said if they moved forward, the true spirit continent is one of the entrances to the life and death secret realm. Everyone who is able to come here will come. It would be impossible for them to be blown back. I don't think anyone would give up the chance to enter the life and death first wave of attacks. Indeed, after the life and death secret realm could save us a lot of time. Yi Chen did not even look back as he entered the inner area. As for the people behind him, they would have to rely on their own power. A battle sound was suddenly heard. The number of evil spirits in the inner area crossing each other while the outer area and symbol palm in the outer area. The sky. It would be lucky to run into one and death secret realm. I will fight with you again. But in the inner area, Yi Chen would run into one as one of them landed on the peak outside the bronze gate. Even in the inner area, the former West Ocean of having a life and death stone inside the evil spirits was not that high. His cultivation had already reached the 50 evil spirits had a life and death stone, so calling him West Ocean Swordmaster was no longer appropriate. After killing a wild the other person was the disciple of the Air Emperor. It did not have a life and death stone as he landed on the peak on the other side. No wonder every time the life and death secret realm spirit continent, more than half of the people would not be able to get a life and death stone. So they had to come here. Among the remaining people, both of them were top warriors. Would only be able to get sword art, while the other had the power of being one with the world. One would not only have to be powerful, they could not see eye to eye with each other. So they had fought on the way to the Savage Mountains. Killing 50 of them would not be as good as killing one. All of them are insane. The good thing is that I can stay in the life and death secret realm for 3 months. Chen before right made a face. Only 10 days he was very talented, and there are still compared to these people. No rush. Nothing. Yi Chen was not in a hurry at all. Came from the left he could not get a life and death stone in the inner area, and the other was green. There was still the core area. One was fire, where the chance of getting one would be higher. It would also be a place where powerful warriors would fight for. And Shoru watching. While
blue
Yi
flame
Chen
was
and
killing
the green
evil
water ball
spirits,
landed
the
on the
others
ground.
were not just sitting
It was
around.
indeed Yang Fengstone
This time,
and the
there
godly
were more
shark
than
princess,
150
Shou
people
watching.
who had entered the
Both
life
of them
and
were
death
beasts,
secret realm,
and their chi
there were
was very
almost
powerful.
200 people.
However,
and more than
just as
half
the
of
two
them would
landed,
be able to
a
make
red
it to the
figure
inner
appeared
area.
on the other side
If
of the
it were
sky.
not for the fact
Everyone
that the
could
inner
tell
area
that it
was
was
big enough,
Dan Tai Ming
Yi
Yu.
Chen might be
In
able to
terms
run
of
into
talent,
these people.
Du Guju
Swoosh.
and Dan Tai Ming
A
Yu
pale
were the
white
most
blade
powerful
light
ones
sliced
in the
through
true
the sky
spirit
and cut
continent,
open a
and
fierce
no one
tiger
could compete
evil
with them.
spirit's body.
Haha,
The fierce
piss
tiger
off.
evil
All
spirit
of a sudden,
was extremely
a dark
powerful.
red light shadow shot
Even
out,
after being
blowing
cut
away
open,
Jiang
it
Tian,
did not
who
disappear.
did not manage to dodge
Instead,
in time.
it twisted
The light
its body
shadow
and
formed,
jumped toward
and it turned
Du
out to
Guju
be
with
a
a
red-haired teenager.
Die.
The
It was
white-haired
Chu
Du
Zhongtian.
Guju had a
You are
cold look
looking
on his
for
face
death.
as his long
Jiang
blade
Tian
sliced
was
through
not
the
wounded
tiger
at all.
evil spirit's
He
head.
flew in the sky,
Boom.
staring
The tiger
at Chu
evil
Zhongtian
spirit
with a
was
pale
killed
face.
immediately,
Chu
and its
Zhongtian
body
chuckled.
disappeared.
I have just
After
reached
its
the
body
half-step-king
disappeared,
realm not
a
too
stone
long ago,
surrounded
and
by
my
two
hands
colored
are
chi
itching.
flows floated
Come
in the
on.
air.
I would like to
Life
see
and
how
death
powerful
stone.
you are.
Du Guju's
What?
cold eyes
He has
slightly
just reached
brightened.
the half-step
As the
king
number
realm,
one martial
and he is already
genius of
this
the Dugu
powerful.
family,
Every
Du
single
Guju
one
did
of
not
them
have
was
as
a
many
dragon
Yuan
among men.
crystals as Yi
Hearing
Chen.
Chu Zhongtian's
But
words,
there were life
they
and
were
death
all
realm
shocked.
warriors in the family.
Jiang Tian's
So some
cultivation
Yuan
had already
crystals were
reached
more
the
than
top
enough for
rank
him to
half-step
train.
king warrior level,
Relying on the
and his
Yuan
power was so
crystals
powerful
and his
that
extremely
no one in
high
the same
training
generation
talent
could beat
Du
him.
Guju was
However,
already at top
Chu
rank
Zhongtian was
half-step
only
king
at the
warrior
mid-rank
level.
half-step
As
king
long as
warrior
he was
level,
not too
and he
unlucky,
had somehow
one
blown
life
away
and death
Jiang
stone
Tian
would
without
definitely
giving
allow
him the
him
time
to
to
reach the
dodge.
first level
Evil
of the life
spirit
and death
body.
challenge.
No wonder.
This way,
By
the gap
Wuxue
between my
shook his head
cultivation
and forced
and
a
theirs will be
smile.
smaller.
This kind
In
of body
Du Guju's
type would
mind,
make even
they
the
were the
gods
top
jealous.
warriors in the life
As an
and
evil
death realm
spirit
substitute
body,
list.
Chu Zhongtian's
On the other
cultivation
side,
base was
haha,
extremely hard
my
to
luck is not
increase.
bad. However,
I killed
the
12 evil
process from peak
spirits
level
and got
late
one
sea
life
of soul
and death
realm to
stone.
half-step
I
king
have
warrior
the
realm
evil
was
spirit
much easier
body.
for an evil
Once
spirit
I reached
body.
the first level
After
of
all,
the life
as
and
long
death
as the Zhen
challenge,
Yuan
who would
formed
be
a
able to beat
perfect
me?
circulation in
Chu
the blood,
Zhongtian
it
had
would be
merged
fine.
the life and
In
death
fact,
stone into
because
his
of his
body.
evil spirit
He
body,
could clearly
Chu
feel that the
Zhongtian had
stone
an
was
easier
helping him
time
to
reaching the
improve his
half-step
mental
king
state.
realm.
Because
It
his
was a
heart
slow
was just too
process,
powerful.
but it was a
It was
continuous
an advantage
process
that no one else
No,
had.
those older
Bastard.
generation martial
100
geniuses
symbol
are nothing to worry
Jiang
about.
Tian was
I
not
will
someone
surpass
who would
them
not
sooner
fight
or
back
later
after suffering a
but
loss.
Du Guju,
He waved his
Dan Tai
hand,
Ming Yu,
and a
Liu
sky-covering
Wujian,
symbol palm
and Jiang
power
Tian are
attacked
not easy
toward
to
Chu
mess with.
Zhongtian. If their
Compared
realms
to
are
the
higher than
five-symbol
mine,
palm,
then the
the
chance of me
100-symbol
beating
palm's
them would
power
be very
was more than
small.
2 times
Chu
more powerful.
Zhongtian's
He
comprehensive
was so
ability
angry
was
that he
not that
performed
high.
his ace attack
Among
right
the
from
people
the
who
start.
had entered the life and death secret
Good
realm,
timing.
he was
A
probably
great
the last
rapier
one.
appeared in
Therefore,
Chu Zhongtian's
he felt
hand,
that one
which he
life
threw
and
out
death
a
stone
stone
was not enough.
The dark
It would
red
be
light
best
was
if he could
bright
get
and
more
horrifying.
and reach the third
It was
level
like a
of the
dark
life
red
and death
sun had
challenge.
exploded.
In the blink of
Drowning
an
the
eye,
symbol palm
20
power
days had
completely.
passed. Jiang
During
Tian
this time,
was not easy
more
to
than
deal
half
with
of the
either.
people who had entered
Although
the
the
inner
symbol
area
palm
had
power
gotten
had
one
dissipated
life
a
and death
lot
stone.
under his control, the rest of it
All of
formed
them
into
were
a massive
improving their
symbol,
mental states,
battling against
and
the
some
dark
of them
red
had
light.
even increased their
It was
realms.
the first time the
How
two
could
had
one
exchanged
describe
attacks,
Yi Chen's
and
luck?
it looked like they were
Very
on par.
bad.
Don't
Entering
block
the
the
inner
way.
area,
Chu
he had
Zhongtian
killed
was
25
arrogant,
evil
but there was
spirits in
another
total,
warrior who
but
was
he had
even
not
more
gotten
aggressive.
even one life and death
1,000
stone.
meters long
Two
pale
life
blade
and
light
death
sliced
evil
through the
spirits.
sky,
I
slicing
hope
through
my
the
luck
space
is better.
between the two.
On this
Boom.
day,
Yi
Chu
Chen ran
Zhongtian
into
and
two
Jiang
life and death
Tian
evil
separated.
spirits that had gathered
Shu.
together.
Du Guju,
This was something
whose
that
hair
had never
turned
happened
white,
before,
walked
since
over
life
with
and
pride.
death evil
His
spirits
aura was
usually moved
horrifying.
alone, and being
Go.
stared at by
The
him would
broken
make
blood
anyone
sword
feel
was
like
taken
they had
out of
fallen
its
into
scabbard.
hell. Turning
After
into
Yi Chen
33
had
sword
left,
shadows,
Du
and
Guju's
shooting
power
out.
had improved
Swoosh.
tremendously.
Swoosh. Before,
Under the
he
attack
was
of
still
Yi
not an
Chen's
opponent
defensive
for Liu
sword spell,
Wujian. The two
but in
evil
the battle
spirits
half
could
a
not
year
do
ago,
anything.
Liu Wu
They were
Jin had
pierced
lost
through
the
by
upper
the
hand.
sword shadows
Oh,
and disappeared
very
immediately.
powerful.
Chu
Got it.
Zhongtian licked
Yi
his
Chen
lips,
squeezed his
the
eyes.
life and death secret
After one of the
realm was
evil
about to
spirits
open.
disappeared,
Actually,
a life and death
no one was
stone
planning
floated
to
out,
fight there,
releasing
and it
a
was just
two-color
for show.
chi flow.
Therefore,
Holding the
Chu
life and death
Zhongtian
stone,
and Jiang
Yi
Tian
Chen
took the
studied it
opportunity
carefully.
to stop fighting.
He could feel that
After
once
about
his soul
15
power
minutes,
got close to the
7
stone,
human
a
figures
magical
appeared from
feeling would be
afar.
transmitted
They
back
were
to him.
indeed the young
That
warriors
feeling
who
was
had
like
the
going
life
from
and death
countless
chi on
life
them.
and death
There were
battles,
5 males
and his mental
and 2
state
females.
was slowly improving.
It is Luo
The life
Tianju
and
and the
death
rest.
stone allows
By
people to
Wuxia
feel
looked
life and
serious.
death.
No
Although
wonder
these
it
people
can
had not
improve
appeared
mental
in front of
state.
them in the past
But
few years,
it is still an
those who knew
external
about
item
them all
after
knew
all.
who they were.
With it,
They were
I
the
can
young
increase
martial
my
geniuses
cultivation
of the
by a
previous
small
generation
level.
who had
But
entered the
if I
life
want
and
to
death
reach the
secret
life
realm
and death
before,
realm,
and they
it
were
is not
already
something that the
half-step
life
king
and
warriors.
death stone can do.
As half-step
The
king
chance
warriors,
is very
they would
small.
naturally not be in the
Activating
same
his
group as them
Yuan,
back then.
the life and
After
death
all,
stone naturally
half-step
merged
king
into his
warriors
body.
and Sea of
Yi
Souls
Chen
realm warriors
sensitively
would not be able
realized
to
that there
compete
was a
with each
faint
other.
life and death
Among
chi
these
leaking
7,
out of his
Luo
body.
Tianju was
If
the
one
most
did not
powerful
look
carefully,
ranked
it would be
second
hard
on the
to
life and
notice.
death realm warrior
This
list.
life and death
The
chi
other
is
6
released
were
by the
all on
life
the
and
list
death
as well.
stone automatically,
Shenhu,
so it is
Thunder
hard to
Spirit
hide.
King,
I
and
hope
Luo
no one
Tianju.
will come looking
They
for
were
trouble.
all in the same generation.
Yi Chen immediately understood that the life and death stone
was
that
just
had
too
merged into
amazing.
his body could also be
To
stolen.
be honest,
as
Luo
long as he
Tianju
killed
had
the
entered the
opponent,
life and
the
death
life
secret
and death
realm less
stone
than
inside
Shenhu,
his body
but
would
they
be
were still in the
exposed.
same generation.
Unless the
after all.
stone's energy had been
Shenhu
used
and
up,
Luo
it
Tianju
would still
were
be
just
useful.
like us and Luo
After
Tianju.
half a month,
There was
some
a gap
people
of
had
10
already
years in
gotten their
between.
second life
Everyone
and death
was
stone.
discussing as
Although
they
Yi
looked
Chen
at the
did
7
not get a
people
second
who had
life
just
and death
arrived.
stone.
The
Young
life
people
and
nowadays
nowadays
are
inside his
also
body had already been used up.
The long-haired
and his
young man
cultivation
next to
had
Luo
surprisingly
Tianju
reached
cracked
the
a smile
first
as
layer
he
of
glanced
life and
over
death
at Chu
challenge.
Zhongqian.
The
Jiang
first layer
Tian
of
and
life
Du
and death
Guju.
challenge had
Luo
doubled his
Tianju
sneered,
sneered,
as if you
when
are
he was
very
a
old.
high-level half-step king warrior.
He could
compared
use
to
the
them,
evil
we
shattering
are
sword
considered
10
old.
times.
If we
But
were
now,
normal people,
he could use
we
it
would
20
be around
times.
50 years old.
The quality of his Jin Yuan had also improved
Chapter
a little,
841,
becoming purer than
for
before.
ordinary people.
50 years was
In
half
addition,
of their life.
Yi Chen could vaguely
but for
feel
them,
that his
it was
understanding of
1/6
life
their
and
life
death had deepened,
and they were still
and
young
his
and
usage of
promising.
Jin Yuan
If
had
they could
naturally
enter the
improved
life
as
and
well.
death realm one
The
day
life
and
and death
become a
challenge
king,
realm
then
was
50
extremely
years would be
mysterious.
nothing.
Allowing
The
one
life
to
and death
comprehend
secret
life
realm
and death
contains life
the
and
gap
death
between a
stones,
high-level
which can help us
half-step king
understand
warrior
life
and a
and
strongest
death and
half-step
improve our
king
mental
warrior
state.
is not small at all.
Unfortunately,
Under
there
the
are too many
situation
monks
where the
and not
talent
enough
and
meat,
comprehensive
so half
ability
of the
are similar,
people will not
the
be able to
latter
get
can
one.
easily beat the
Brother
former
Luo,
without any
you
effort.
are at the peak of the
With
third
my
layer
current
of
strength,
life and death
I wonder how
challenge.
much of a chance
As long
I
as
would
you
have
get a
if
few
I were
more
to
stones,
encounter a
you
normal
might be
life
able
and
to
death
become a
realm
king warrior
in the
Last
life and
time,
death secret
during
realm.
the battle with the
Life and
demonic
death
human
realm
king,
is not that
Yi
easy
Chen
to
had
reach.
used all of his skills,
Luo Tianju
including
forced
the
a smile.
Scorpio sword.
When he was at the
But
top
he
half-step
still
king
could not
warrior
do
level,
anything to
he
his
would have a
opponent.
90% chance
His
of
opponent
reaching
had
the
been hit
first
a few
layer of
times,
life and death
but it did
challenge
not
with
hurt
one
at all.
stone.
The
But,
gap was
from the
simply
first
too
layer
huge.
to the second layer, even 2 stones would not be enough. From the second
Chapter
layer to the third layer,
845.
the number of
Of course,
stones needed would
last
be
time,
doubled.
Yi
And
Chen
from the
was at
peak of the
mid-rank
third layer
half-step
to the
king
true
warrior
life and
level,
death realm,
and now
it
he
would
was
not
at the
be
first
enough
level
of
of
the
the
life
life
and
and
death challenge.
It would also
The gap
require a
between
bit
them
of
was
luck.
huge.
And it would
Moreover,
be impossible
there were
for
not
him
all
to
the
fight
stones
against
in the
demi
life and
demon
death
kings.
secret realm.
Even
Every
normal
time,
king warriors
more
would
than
not
half
have
of the
much
people
hope,
would not
but
be
at
able to
least
get
there was
one,
a slight
and
possibility.
most of them would only have
At
one
the
stone.
early rank half-step
Only a
king
small
warrior
portion
level,
of them would
the
have
Jin
more than
Yuan
2
would
stones,
combine with the
and
blood
their
in the
mental
arteries,
state and power would
completing a
increase
cycle.
drastically.
At the
The
mid-rank,
7 were
the Jin
extremely
Yuan
fast,
would combine
and in the
with
blink
the
of
blood
an
in the
eye,
veins.
7 figures
At the
had
high
already
rank,
appeared
the
beside
Jin
the
Yuan
bronze
would
door.
combine with the
By
blood in the
Wuxue,
capillaries.
Lu Xiaoyu,
As for the
four
life
of you
and
have
death
been
challenge,
competing
the
against
Jin
each other
Yuan
for more
would
than 10
combine
years.
with the flesh and blood
This
in the
is
body.
really rare.
Comprehending
Luo
life and
Tianju
death
sized
was
up
the
by
improvement
Wuxue
of
and
one's
the other
mental
3 with a
state.
smile.
With the
Perhaps
improvement
it
of
is
the
fate.
mental state,
The
it would be
long-haired
much
teenager
easier to
beside
increase
Luo
one's
Tianju
cultivation
laughed as
level.
well.
The control
By
of one's
Wuxue,
body
Lu
would also
Xiaoyu,
be very
Xia
powerful,
Hozuan,
and one
Xiao
would be able
Chuhe.
to look
The
inside
4
one's
had
body.
always been at the
This
same
was
level
also the
since they
reason
were
why
young,
one's
and the
cultivation
gap
could
between them
increase
was
by
not
leaps
that
and
big.
bounds with a high
After
mental
decades,
state. Although
just
these
like the
4
head
were no
disciple
longer
of
at the
their
Zhongqian
peak, and
martial
had been
school,
surpassed by Yi Chen,
Du Gujue,
after spending
and
3
Dantai
days,
Ningyu,
Yi
the
Chen had
competition
stabilized
between
his
them had never
cultivation.
stopped.
Then he
Having
started to head
opponents
deeper
is not
into the inner
necessarily
area.
a bad thing.
Perhaps it was
Don't
because
you
the
think
life
so,
and death
Brother
bridge was
Luo?
right in front of
Brother
him.
was a
But along the
respectful
way,
title,
Yi Chen
and
had
it did
run
not
into a
mean
lot
that
of
only
young
people
martial
in the same
geniuses.
sect could call
There
each
were
other
beasts,
that. By
humans,
Wuxue
and
was
demi
10 years
beasts,
younger
but
than
demi
Luo
demons
Tianju,
were rare.
so calling him
Boom.
brother was not
After
wrong.
traveling for
You're
a while,
right. An intense
Luo
explosion
Tianju
sound was
"You
heard.
are already
The
half-step
powerful
king
chi
warriors.
flow spread out
As
in
long
all
as your
directions,
luck is not
and
bad,
some of the
you should
plants
be
have
able
been
to
uprooted.
obtain a life and
There
death
is a
stone.
battle going on.
Who knows?
Let's go
You
check
might
it
even
out.
be able to
The
exchange
young martial
pointers geniuses who had come to the
Life
life
and
and
death
death was
secret
simply
realm
too
were
hard
not
to
only
reach.
here for the life and
Even
death
Luo
stones,
Tian
but
couldn't
also to
guarantee
witness
that
the
he could
power
become a
of the
life
other
and
martial
death realm king.
geniuses.
The battle was
In
very
this way,
attractive to
the
them,
gap
and
between
their
him
eyes
and
all
by
brightened
Wuxia
up
would
as
be
their
getting
speed
smaller
increased
and smaller.
drastically.
Sooner
The battles
or later,
in the inner
they would
area
reach
must
the
be
same
way
level,
more
and
intense
by
than
then,
the outer area.
they would be in a
Yi
competitive
Chen
relationship.
thought to himself.
Those young men
After
seemed to
traveling
be
for
in
a
a very
few
bad
thousand
mood.
miles,
The
Yi Chen
long-haired
arrived
young
at the
man
battle
looked at
site.
Du Guju,
So many
Zhengtian,
people, and the
looking
others with a
around.
smile.
Yi Chen
Bai
was a bit
Wuxue
surprised.
said, "I am ashamed.
In the sky above
We
the
are not a
mountain
match
range,
for them."
two groups
Without
of
a
people
doubt,
were confronting
Du
each
Guju,
other.
Dan
One group
Taimingyu,
was led
Chu
by the young
Zhengtian,
tiger
Li
warrior
Wujin,
and a
and
hook-nosed
Jiang
youngster,
Tian were all
while the
top
other
young
group was
warriors
led
at the
by a
same level.
long-haired youngster
Yang
and a
Fengfeng
brown-haired woman.
could barely be
The young
considered as
tiger
well.
warrior and the
Then,
hook-nosed
it would be
youngster
the top
represented
5
the
young
young
warriors,
Skyland,
and a couple
while
of
the
top
long-haired
martial
youngster
geniuses
and the
like
brown-haired
Beiming
woman
Hui
represented
then,
the true spirit
it would be the
continent.
rest of the young
This
warriors.
was because Yi Chen
Chu
saw
Zhengtian
Beiming
could
Hui,
tell from these
Situ
people's
Hao,
eyes that they
and
were
a few
talking
other
about
familiar
him and
faces
Du
in this
Guju.
group.
He
Yi
made a
Chen's
face
arrival
but did not
say
attract
anything.
too much attention.
He could indeed battle
Everyone's
above his
attention
realm,
was on
but
the
it
two
depended
people
on who his
fighting.
opponent was.
As a martial
True
genius
spirit
himself,
continents
Luo
martial
Qianju
geniuses
also
are
had the
nothing
power
more
to
than
battle
this.
above his realm.
The young man with a
Plus,
horn on his head
cultivation
shook his
had
long
reached the peak
and
of
the
the
spear
third
light
level
rose
of the life
sharply,
and death
turning
challenge.
into a huge
If
snake
Chu
head that bit
Zhongtian
the
went
short
up,
and thin young
he might
man.
not even be able
Puff.
to handle
The
one
short
attack.
and skinny young
If he
man's
wanted to
protective
fight against
Yuan
them,
was broken,
his cultivation
and he was
would
sent
have to
flying
reach the
back
life
while
and death
spurting out
challenge
blood.
at least.
Ha.
Just like
After
Chu
defeating
Zhongtian,
his opponent,
Ju,
the burly
Jiang
young
Tian,
man laughed
and the rest of them
arrogantly.
all remained
The
silent.
martial geniuses
There were
of
more
the
and
true
more
spirit
people
continent
arriving
are
at the
too
Bronze
weak.
Gate.
They have
Not
already
only
lost
from the
two
true spirit
battles in a
continent,
row,
but
it
also
seems
from
like
the
the
ocean
true
region
spirit
near the
continent
true
is very
spirit famous,
famous,
but has
the
been
true
left
spirit
behind by our
continent
blood
had the most
skyland.
people,
Yeah,
about 30
you
of
are
them.
right.
Half
The
of them
true
were
spirit
young and old
continent
martial
indeed
geniuses,
has a lot of martial
adding
geniuses,
those from the
but
ocean
not
region
many
or the
elites.
deep ocean.
On the other
There were
hand,
more than
our
50
blood
of them.
skyland has 8
Moreover,
beast warriors
there
and
would be
4
1 or
demons,
2 people
who are the
arriving
elites
every
of the
second.
elites. On
Some
the
of
other
them
side,
had extremely
the people from the
horrifying
blood
chi,
skyland
but
started
not many
to talk.
people could recognize
They did
them.
not care about
After
the
all,
martial
the
geniuses
deep ocean
from the
martial
true spirit
geniuses
continent
did not
at
have
all.
much contact
Frog
with the
in a
true
well.
spirit continent.
Beiming Hui stood
Crack.
out.
Time
Who are you
passed like
calling
water.
a frog in a well?
When it was almost
The burly
dusk,
young man
the
pointed
ancient
his long
bronze
spear
gate
at
suddenly
Beiming
opened.
Hui.
That
Beiming
ancient
Hui
voice
sneered,
made everyone's
"I'm
heart
talking
skip a
about
beat.
you.
Don't
The life
think
and
that
death
just
gate
because
is
you beat
open.
2 people
Let's
from
go
our
in."
true spirit
Luo
continent,
Qianju
you
and
can
the
show
other
off your
6
power.
entered the gate first.
Let me tell you the truth.
Then, when
the
you
rest
meet
of
the
real
people
martial
entered one
geniuses
after
from
another.
our true spirit
Soon,
continent,
there were
you will
only
be
a few
shocked.
people outside the
Swoosh.
gate.
You must
It
be
seems
joking.
like he is not coming.
The burly young man
Chu
did not
Zhongtian
believe
sighed
him
as
at
he
all.
entered the gate.
Cut the crap.
You should not
You
miss
use
it,
a spear,
right?
and so do I.
Ju was
Let's
the
see
last
how
to
I
enter.
beat you.
After
A silver
everyone
dragon
had
long
entered,
spear
the bronze
appeared in
gate did
Beiming
not
Hui's
close.
hand, its
Because
body
the sun
shining
had not
brightly.
set yet.
Bring it
The world
on.
had not
I will
fallen
make
into
sure
darkness
you will be
yet.
convinced.
Shoo.
The
In the
burly young
distance,
man looked
a
a bit
silhouette
serious.
rapidly approached.
He could feel that
The silhouette
Beiming Hui's
landed
spear
on the
and
ground
talent
was very
It was Yi
powerful.
Chen's
He
acquaintance,
was a real
the
spear
crown
artist.
prince of the Blackwater
Skybank
Alliance,
third
Wang
movement.
Tai.
Skybank
Life
forever
and death
separation.
secret realm.
As soon as
If you miss
Beiming
it
Hui
once,
arrived,
you might
he
miss it
performed
for
the
the
third
rest of your
movement
life.
of his Skybank.
His body
That kid
split
has
into
most
2,
likely
and the
entered,
2 of them
saving me
performed
the
the trouble
first
of looking
movement
for
at the
him.
same time.
A sneer appeared
Although it was
on
only
Wang
one
Tai's
movement,
face. The aura
as a
was
strongest
completely
half-step
different.
king,
One
was
was in
also
the
on the
light
life
while
and
the
death
other was in the
substitute list,
dark.
ranked
The
8th.
2 auras
In his
combined
eyes,
together.
even
And
if
Yi
Yi
Chen
Chen
became a
changed
half-step
immediately,
king.
he would
That
not
sharp
be his
spear
opponent.
light expanded
At
without
that
a
time,
limit.
he would make
expanding
Yi
by
Chen
hundreds
spit
of
out
times
Jin
within a
Yuan
second.
crystals with interest.
It then shot out
Just
with its
as he was
spear
about to enter the
locked
gate,
onto that young
Wang
man.
Tai sensed
Not
something
good.
and turned his
This
head.
attack is
A
very
dazzling
powerful.
golden flame
The burly
pierced
young
through
man
the air.
waved his long
Within
spear,
the flame was a
creating
tall
a
and
slender
slender figure
figure
with hair
trying
as
to
black as
devour
ink.
the spear light.
Boom,
A body refining
boom,
expert.
boom.
The
Wang
swirl was
Tai's
shattered,
brows twitched.
and so was the spear
Miss,
light.
I'm Wang Tai.
However,
I
Beiming
wonder,
Hui's attack
with a
did
smile,
not stop there.
Wang Tai blocked the
Skybank
bronze
fourth
gate,
movement,
intending
10
to make
directions
friends
unstoppable.
Scram.
If the
The
third
golden
movement
flame
of the
was like a
Skybank
hot
was
knife
the combination
cutting
of
through
2
butter,
first movements,
completely ignoring
then the
Wang
fourth
Tai
movement
and
would be the
directly
combination
entering
of
the
2
bronze
second
gate.
movements,
Brushed
which would
by
be
the
more
flame,
than twice as
Wang
powerful.
Tai
miserably rolled on the ground.
His
A couple
face
of years
pale.
ago,
Damn
Beiming
it.
Hui had
Who is
already
this woman?
created the third
Wang
movement.
Tai's complexion
After that,
was unsightly.
he had created
He
some
had
other
intended
movements
to make
as well.
friends,
But
was
fourth
unexpectedly
movement was
pushed
something
away
he had
by
only
the other
learned
party.
not long ago.
However,
The other party's the burly young man blocked out 7 of the silver
merely
light
being
beams,
brushed by the
but
golden
last 3
flame
landed
caused
on
his
his
stomach
stomach
and
and
chest,
chest, as if the
blowing
other
him
party
away
was
while
not blood
blood
puked out
but
of a
a
dragon.
dragon.
Great. With
Finally
a light
winning
snort,
one round,
Wang Tai
all of the young
followed in.
martial geniuses
Blood Sky
from the true
continent,
spirit
a
continent
large number
cheered.
of young half-step
This Beiming
kings were
Hui
gathered
has
outside
indeed
the
great
bronze gate
potential.
of Desolate Mountain.
He has just reached
Apart
the first
from the
level
8
of
young
the life
beast
and
lords
death
and
challenge,
4 demons,
and he already
there
has
were also
power
some
that is way
geniuses
beyond his
who were not
peers.
as famous as
The
them.
long-haired young
Some
man
were from
said
blood
to the
sky
brown-haired
continent,
lady,
while others
yeah,
were from
among
the
the
ocean.
local martial
Ling
geniuses
Hui,
of our true
you
spirit
said you were
continent, defeated by a single person.
I wonder if that's true.
Young Tiger Lord's bare arms and chest were covered in fierce tiger stripes.
The brown-haired
lady
nodded.
Said, "He has even created the fourth movement. No need for your concern."
chuckled.
The higher the level, the harder
we're from
it
the
would
same
be to
continent.
create. He
That
remembered
kid's
that
origin
when
is
Hui
mysterious.
challenged him,
If I
he only
encounter
had the
him,
first movement.
perhaps I'll help you
Then
vent some anger.
he had the second
Let's
and third
talk about
movement
it
when you
and his
encounter
progress
him.
was not
A
slow
strange
at all.
light flickered
Who
in
else
Ling
wants to
Hui's
challenge
eyes.
me?
He was
Baming
more or
Hui
less
said
clear
with a
about
loud
Yi
voice.
Chen's strength.
Me.
In his
The people
opinion,
from the Blood
young
Skyland
Tiger
were
Lord
not
would most
convinced,
likely suffer
so
a
a
bit if he
dark-faced
encountered
young man
Yi Chen.
walked out.
Of course,
After 3
this had
attacks,
nothing to do
that
with him,
dark-faced
and he
young
had
man
no
puked
obligation
out a
to tell
mouthful
him.
of blood as well.
Young Tiger Lord,
Baming Hui's
be careful
power
not
was
to fail
extremely
miserably.
famous in the whole
These
true
days,
spirit continent.
anything can happen.
Even compared
Lan
to Du
Sanmai
Gujue
flicked
and
the
the
hair
rest
on
of the
his
warriors
forehead that had
he
been
was
messed
only
up by the
slightly
wind
weaker.
and said indifferently,
So, no one could
"Failure
ignore him.
miserably is
Today
the
was the
behavior
first
of a
time
fool.
he had battled
Do
with
you
a
think
genius
such a
from
thing
the Blood
would happen to
Skyland?
me?" and he had
Young
won 2
Tiger
battles
Lord
in a
smiled
row.
disdainfully.
It is a draw.
That's not
the
necessarily
Blood Skyland
true.
has won 2 rounds,
Lan Sanmai
and our
revealed
true
a
spirit
mocking
continent
expression.
has won 2 rounds
You.
as well.
Young Tiger
As long
Lord
as fiercely
Baming
glared
Hui wins
at Lan
one more
Sanmai,
round.
the
We will
latter's
have the upper
words
hand.
were clearly
I
directed
wonder
at
who
him.
will challenge
What?
us next.
I'm just
The
speaking
martial
the
geniuses
truth.
from the true spirit continent
In half a month,
discussed among
although
themselves.
Yi Chen's deeds had
Never
not
mind,
spread throughout
it
the
will
Blood
save
Sky
me the
continent,
trouble.
as a
I
disciple
will
of
beat you
demonic
all
blade
by
sect,
myself.
how could
On
Lan
his
Sanmai
forehead,
not know about
on his
it?
bare arms,
When she
there
heard
were
the
faint
news,
tiger stripes.
she immediately thought
As
of
soon
Yi
as he
Chen.
stepped out,
In her
a
opinion,
natural
only
tiger's
Yi
might
Chen had
radiated
this
out.
kind of strength.
Everyone
and he
seemed
came
to
from
hear
another
the roar
place.
of a tiger
Humph.
coming from the void.
Young Tiger Lord
Those
did
who were
not want to
slightly
argue
weaker
with Lan
couldn't even
Sanmai.
control their own
She was the
bodies.
head disciple
On the
of
true
demonic
spirit
blade
continent,
sect,
there
and
was a
although she looked
demi-beast
like a
family
flower,
called the
her
Sky
temperament
Tiger
was
race,
extremely
and the
savage.
Tiger Warrior's
He
ancestor
was not ready
also
to
a
have
Sky
a falling
Tiger.
out with her.
The Sky Tiger
Once he entered
bloodline
the
flowing
life
in
and
his
death
body
secret
was
realm
way
and
richer
obtained
than the
some life
demi-beast's
and death
bloodline.
stones. He would
It would
deal
not
with
be
her
wrong to
properly.
call him a
From
Sky
afar,
Tiger,
Yi
because
Chen
his
could see the
bloodline
bronze
was
gate
extremely
towering
close to
between
his
heaven and
ancestors.
earth, as well as
Such
the
a
numerous
powerful
young
beast
experts standing
bloodline.
outside of
Baming
it.
Hui
Quite
squinted
a
his
lot of
eyes
people.
as his scalp
Yi
went
Chen
numb.
mumbled to
On the
himself.
true spirit
Yi
continent,
Chen's arrival
Yang
was
Feng's
naturally seen
comprehensive
by
ability
others.
was not that
I've never
high.
seen this person before.
The
But,
gazes of the
because
8
she was
young
a blue
beast
phoenix,
lords, 4
she was
demons,
extremely
and
powerful.
numerous young experts
Although
all
she
landed
seemed to
on
be
Yi
a bit
Chen's
weaker
body.
than Dugu
Some
Ju,
were curious,
Dugu Ju
some
would
were
not be
malicious,
able to beat
and
her.
some were kind.
At most,
Ling
he would
Hui
have the
clenched
upper
his
hand.
fists and sucked
However,
in a deep
this
breath.
tiger warrior
He
did
had
not
not
only
only
have
broken
a beast
through to the
bloodline
life
that
and
was
death
not weaker
chamber,
than Yang
so he could
Fengfeng's,
not be Yi
but his
Chen's opponent.
cultivation had also
However,
reached the peak
he
of
would
the second
definitely
level
settle
of the
this
life
score.
and death challenge.
You're here, Tiger
Lan
Warrior.
Sanmai
You are
sensed that
bullying
Yi
us.
Chen's aura
The
had
young
increased
man
by
with
a
an
lacrimal
aquiline
nose
said
he
with a
was
smile.
clearly a high-level
Are you
half-step
ready?
king.
The
But he
Tiger
did
Warrior
not know
looked
what
at
level
Baming
his strength
Hui
had
with
reached.
disdain.
Life
Make
and death
your
secret
move.
realm
Baming
only
Hui's
happens
body
once every
split
10
into
years.
2, one on
How
the
could I
left
miss
and the
it?
other on the right,
Yi Chen
standing
smiled
side
at
by
Lan
side.
Sanmai.
Then die.
Indeed,
The Tiger
only the
Warrior's
life and
body
death
flashed
secret
like a
realm can
ferocious
shorten the
tiger
time
as he
needed
jumped
to enter
out.
the life and
In
death
midair,
realm.
he reached
Lan
out with his
Sanmai
right
and Yi
hand,
Chen were
his massive
chatting
tiger
happily,
claws
which
tearing
surprised
apart
many
the surreal
people.
space.
Demoness
So
Blade
fast,
Lan Sanmai
Baming
was
Hui
definitely
only
not a
saw a
kind
blur
person.
in front of his
It
eyes,
was rare to
and
see
the
her
Tiger
talking
Warrior
normally
had already
with someone
jumped
of the
over.
opposite sex.
Not having enough time
Sister
to
Lan,
dodge,
who
the
is
2
he?
Baming Huis
Why don't you
performed the
introduce
second
him?
movement of Skybank
While the
at the
two were
same
talking,
time,
a
attacking
tall,
the Tiger
green-haired
Warrior.
youngster walked
Break.
over.
The Tiger
Those who
Warrior
knew him
waved his
couldn't help
hand,
but
and the
sigh.
10 incoming
This
silver
green-haired
light beams
youngster
were
was
torn
none
apart.
other than the head of the 4
Suddenly,
demons.
a stick-like
Young
tail
Undying
grew out of
Demon
his
Lord,
butt, which
the
landed
matter
on
of
one of
young
the Baming
Undying
Hui's
Demon
body,
Lord
shattering
pursuing
him
Lan
into
Sanmai
pieces on
was
the
known
spot,
to almost
turning
everyone.
him into light
Lan
dots and
Sanmai
disappearing
frowned.
into the
He
air.
is my friend.
It was the
Yi
clone
Chen.
that was killed, while
it is
Baming
brother
Hui's
Yi.
real body
If there
backed
is a
out.
chance,
His
let's
left
get to
hand
know each
formed a
other.
spell,
Sister
and a blue
Lan
cage
and you
descended
can chat,
from the sky,
so I should be able to chat with you as well.
A sneer
the teenager
appeared on the
said with a
Tiger
hint,
Warrior's face,
as if he was telling
do you
Yi
think
Chen
you can
that
trap
Lan
me like
Sanmai
this?
had a good relationship
Of course
with
not.
him.
So it would be better
as
for
long
him
as
to
you can buy
understand.
me some time,
The life
it
and
will
death
be fine.
gate is about to
Baming
open,
Hui
right?
had not been able
Yi
to
Chen
perform
moved
the
away
fourth
from him
movement
and
before,
looked at the
and
bronze
had only
gate.
managed to perform 2 separate
Everyone
movements.
was shocked.
But
This
with
Yi
the
Chen
cage
was
trapping
way
the
too
Tiger
arrogant.
Warrior,
The
Baming
teenager
Hui
was a
finally
bit shocked
managed
as
to
well,
perform the
but
fourth
he soon
movement.
covered up the
10
awkwardness
silver
and
light
looked at Yi
beams
Chen with a
attacked
cold
toward the
light
Tiger
flashing
Warrior
through his
in a
eyes.
disorderly manner.
Sky
As the
Tiger
sun
roar.
set,
The
facing
bronze gate
Baming
suddenly
Hui's killing
opened with
attack,
an ancient
the
aura.
Tiger Warrior looked calm as he suddenly opened his mouth to roar.
Chapter
As that
842.
roar was let out, time seemed
the
to have
life
stopped,
and death gate
and the
is
space
open.
around him
This
started
is my
to
first
twist.
time entering
Boom.
the life
The
and
cage
death
was
secret
shattered,
realm,
and
there
there
were
were
nearly
nearly
50
50
young
beams were
half-step
twisted
kings
by an
gathered
invisible
outside
power.
the gate.
They did not
Seeing
manage
the
to
gate
hurt
open,
the Tiger
they all
Warrior
flew
at
into
all,
the gate
but
like
blood
swallows
leaked out of the
returning to
corner
their
of
nest,
Baming Hui's
disappearing
mouth.
without a
And An attack with willpower. The young undying demon Lord glanced at Yi Chen and said to Lan Sanmai, that there were no secret arts with willpower attacks. But they were just like soul attacks, once you're inside, which were extremely rare. The life and death gate was only a transportation gate. Tiger roar was entering not a secret at the same time, but a special ability in a different destination. Secret arts needed to be learned. There was no need for the young undying demon Lord to enter with Lan Sanmai. So he flew in first. With a flash of his body, Yi Chen, the tiger warrior, threw out a claw attack. Lan Sanmai was a few years older than Yi Chen, and her cultivation base reaction was rather fast as well. However, blocking the attack just like with his long spear, it was her first time seeing the life and death secret realm open. The impact of the tiger claw was transmitted into his body through the long spear, blowing him away while faintly nodded as he watched everyone enter the gate, coincidentally, including the place where the golden lion had been blown away. The life and death secret realm opens once every 10 years for 3 months. Blurted out, "I wonder if the demonic human emperor will let Murong Almost come." No one in the blood After waiting for a while, the sun gradually set, but on the side of the true spirit continent closing.
A lot of people's
Smiling
expressions
bitterly,
changed.
Yi Chen didn't
was
want
Yi
to wait
Chen?
any longer.
There was probably no one who did not know about
into the
him.
gate.
Before
Right
Yi
at
Chen
this
left,
moment,
the
the
gate
gate
closed
had been
with a loud
completely
bang,
suppressed,
disappearing into the
Liu
void.
Wujian,
This was an extremely strange
had all
plane.
lost to him.
It wasn't
or they did not
unreasonable
dare
to say
challenge
that
him.
it was strange. On the ground, there were places that were lush with green grass
Chapter
and full of life.
846.
There were
He is
also
Yi
places
Chen.
that were
The
barren
long-haired
and desolate.
young man looked
There
over
wasn't a
curiously.
clear dividing
During
line
the
between
years
the
when
two.
Yi Chen was in the
Because at
limelight,
this moment,
he was
this
not in
place
the
might
true
still be
spirit
green,
continent.
but in the next
Instead,
moment,
the
he
green
had been
grass
traveling
might
instantly
instantly
wither and dissipate.
When he came back,
while in the
Yi
desolate
Chen had
place,
already left
tender
the
shoots
true
would
spirit
instantly
continent,
grow,
and no one
the
knew
tender
where he had
shoots would
gone.
grow at an
However,
astonishing speed,
be it in the tea
and in a
houses,
short while,
restaurants,
the green
or
grass
even on
would
the
cover the
streets,
ground.
Yi Chen
Life
was the
and
talk
death,
of a lot of people,
flourishing
without
and
even
withering.
asking around.
It was happening
the
all the
long-haired young
time.
man already
What
had
a
an
great
impression of
secret
Yi
realm.
Chen in his
Yi
mind.
Chen,
who had
martial
just
genius,
arrived, was
beast,
shocked by this
unrivaled
scene.
within the same
Growing
generation,
a plant
and
had
making
never
it
lost a
flourish
single
was something
time
that
since he
he,
started
who
his
had comprehended
cultivation.
the wood
With
profound,
so many
could do
honors
as well.
gathered on one person,
However,
the
it would be
long-haired young
impossible
man
for him
had an
to do as
intense
he did
interest
in the
Yi
life
Chen.
and death secret
He
realm,
wanted to see
allowing
what
nature
heights
to
this
take its
legendary young
course.
genius had
Life
reached,
and death
and whether
secret
or not
realm
he had the
seemed to
same
contain the
aptitude as
cycle of
mysterious
life and
queen,
death,
who was
Life
unrivaled
was
under
not
the
the
heavens,
beginning, and
Du
death was
Guju
not
is
the end.
arrogant,
Life
while
and
Dan
death
Taiming
were
Yu
merely
is
a
ethereal.
cycle. This
Screech.
Yi Chen,
Suddenly,
what kind of
a
feeling does he
soul-piercing
give you?
eagle cry
The
came from
brown-haired
above
woman
his
was
head.
also very
Yi Chen
interested
looked
in Yi
up and
Chen,
saw an eagle
so she
form in
turned
the
her
sky
head and
where
asked the
clear and
long-haired
turbid
young
air
man.
currents
The
intertwined.
long-haired young man
The eagle's
thought for a
body was
while,
blurry
then
and
said,
didn't seem
"It
to
should
be
be
alive,
tolerance,"
but its speed was incomparably fast.
The brown-haired woman was a bit surprised.
A moment ago,
a
it was
sword artist
10,000
has a
jong
sharp
high in the
aura,
sky,
but he is
and in the
different
next
from
moment,
normal sword
its
artists.
claws were less than 3
This is
feet
the
away
first
from Yi
impression
Chen's
he
head.
gave me.
Yi Chen
The
did not
long-haired
dare
young
to be
man said,
careless. That
he
is
instantly
true.
unsheathed
He is
his
indeed
evil
different
vanquishing
from
sword
normal
and
sword
stabbed
artists.
the eagle's chest.
The brown-haired
Poochie,
woman nodded
without
slightly.
spilling any
If
blood.
it were not
The
for the
goshawk's
fact that
body
they had a
turned
certain
blurry
understanding
and eventually
of Yi
turned
Chen,
into a
they would
two-colored
not have
airflow,
made such an
which dispersed
evaluation
into the universe.
It was because they had
This
heard
was
a
the
lot of
chi
things
of
about
life
Yi
and
Chen
death.
on the true
The
spirit
goshawk
continent,
was formed
big
by
and
the
small,
chi of life
and
and
then
death.
met him in person.
Seems
that they
like
were
I
able
can't
to
be
express their
careless.
feelings right
This
away.
is only the
If
outer
it were
area
someone
of the
else who
life
had
and
seen
death
Yi
secret
Chen for the
realm,
first
and the
time,
evil
they would
spirit
not
here
have such
has
a
the
deep
strength
feeling.
of a mid-level
I thought you would not
half-step
come.
Normal
It seems
half-step
like
king
there will be
warriors
another
would be
good show
clawed to
this
death
time.
without any
Beiming
powerful
Hui
tricks.
wiped off the blood
Life
on the
and
corner
death
of his
evil
mouth
spirits
and
were
said with a
formed by the
smile,
chi of life
"Chasing
and death.
after the peak is
They
my
were
dream,
non-living
and it is
creatures
also
that could
the
only
dream of all
survive in
warriors.
the life and death
How could
secret
I not
realm.
come?
Unfortunately,
Yi Chen looked very
it has
calm.
just been formed.
If you're done chatting,
Although it is
then
powerful,
die.
there
The
is no
tiger
life
warrior
and
did not
death
give
stone in
up
its
on
body.
attacking
Yi
Beiming
Chen
Hui.
shook his
He
head.
flipped his right
The life
hand
and
and
death
made a
secret
grabbing
realm
gesture.
contained life
A
and death
300-meter-long
stones, which
tiger
were usually
claw
born
appeared
in
in
the
bodies
air,
of evil
reaching
spirits.
out toward Yi Chen
Normally,
as well.
evil spirits
It seemed
with
like
life
he was
and death
planning to
stones
kill
would
him
be
all at
extremely
once.
hard to destroy.
Clang.
For
Facing
example,
the young
if
tiger
that
lord
goshawk
from the
evil
side
spirit had
Yi
a life
Chen
and
didn't
death
even
stone
look
in
at
its
him.
body,
He
Yi
pulled
Chen
out
wouldn't
his
have been
sword
able to
and
destroy
slashed.
it with one
The
sword
horrifying
attack.
sword
After
not
flying
only
for
split
a
open
while,
the tiger
a
claw,
shocking
but
energy
also
vibration
slashed
towards
exploded
the young
in the
tiger
distant
lord.
sky.
Someone was
Young
fighting.
tiger master
Fighting
tilted
as
his
soon
body
as I
and
entered.
bounced up.
Could
barely
it be
dodging
that they
the sword
found the
energy.
life and death
Still
stone?
as powerful
His
as
eyebrows
ever.
twitching,
Yi Chen increased his speed
Situ
instead
how
of slowing
smiled
down,
bitterly in the
turning
crowd,
into a beam
then
of
showed a
sword
look
light.
of admiration.
On a boundless
I didn't
plain,
expect you
two
to be
figures
from the true
continuously
spirit
clashed with
continent,
each other,
and you seem to be
violent
quite
shockwaves
famous.
spread out
Young
everywhere,
tiger lord
creating
no longer
huge
dared
craters
to
on the
ignore
plain.
Yi Chen.
This
He
life
had
and
used
death stone was
70% of
obtained
his
by
strength
me
in
after
that claw
killing
attack
so many
just now.
evil spirits.
But Yi Chen had
If you know
casually
what's
broken
good
it
for
with
you,
a sword.
leave now.
He was quite
Otherwise,
shocked.
there will
You are
only
no
be
match
one of
for
us.
me.
The
Yi Chen
yellow-robed
shook his
youngster
head.
scolded the
Seems
brown-robed
like I've been
youngster while exchanging
underestimated.
blows.
A cold
The
smile
brown-robed
appeared on the
youngster
young
sneered,
tiger lord's
"Winner
face.
takes all.
You've offended the
Life
undying
and death
demon
stone
lord,
is not
so he will
something
come
you
out
can
to
have.
take care of you sooner
Let me take
or later.
care of it for you.
But before
Bastard.
that, I'd like
You
to
are
see
going
what
too
gives you the
far.
confidence
The
to say
yellow-robed
that I am not
youngster
your
was
opponent.
furious.
As one of
The
the
life
8
and
great
death
beast
secret
realm
lords,
was
how
divided
could he
into
be
3
scared
areas,
off by a
the
single
core
sentence
area,
from each
the
end?
inner area,
Otherwise,
and the outer area.
it would be a disgrace
If the
to
whole
the
secret realm
reputation
was a
of the 8
circle,
great
then the
beast
core
lords.
area would
As he
naturally be in the
spoke,
middle,
his body
while
shook,
the inner area
and an
would
even
be
more
between the core
horrifying
area
tiger
and the
aura
outer
poured
area.
out of his body.
The outer
In the
area was the
surreal,
safest,
tiger roars
but
could be heard,
correspondingly,
and the
it also
sky
had the
changed
least
color.
amount of life
Coming
and
to the
death
life
stones.
and death secret
Those
realm,
who did not
the
have
young
enough
tiger
power
lord
and
had
could
already
only obtain
obtained a
the
life
outer
and death
area
stone.
would not be able to
Although
get a
he
life
couldn't
and death
break through
stone.
to the third
If they
layer
could
from
get
the
a
peak
life
of the
and
second
death stone,
layer,
then
it
it
was
would
not
be a
like he
sign
didn't
of
make
extreme
any
progress at all.
The yellow-robed
At least,
youngster
his
found
aura
an evil
pressure
spirit
was getting
as
more
soon
and
as
more
he entered.
powerful. His blue robe fluttered without any wind as Yi Chen's sword aura was like his own spirit for 300 rounds before finally killing it.
Of the young
What
Tiger
made him
Lord.
ecstatic was
Crackle.
that there was indeed
The
a
two
life and
auras
death
clashed
stone
violently,
inside this evil
resulting in a
body,
series of
one
loud
that
noises.
could possibly allow him
Even
to
the
reach the
space
life
was
and death
slightly
challenge
distorted.
realm. Unfortunately,
the life
this
and death
situation
stone was
only
discovered
lasted
before
for
it could
split
even
second.
warm up.
After a
Peng,
split
peng,
second,
peng, peng,
the
peng.
young Tiger
The
Lord
two
staggered
exchanged
and couldn't
blows
help
crazily.
but take 3
The
steps
shockwaves
back
of
as
their
his
battles
clothes
were
cut
shaking
into
the plane
pieces.
within hundreds of
Without
miles.
a doubt, it
Yi
was as
Chen's
if there were
sword aura
countless
was
much more
elephants running
powerful
through
than the
it.
young Tiger Lord's Tiger
The
aura.
yellow-robed youngster
How can there
had
be
fought
such a
with the
powerful
evil
spirit
sword
aura?
before,
So
the
the
young
young
Tiger
Tiger
Lord's
Lord's
expression
changed
changed
several
several
times
as
the
he
inward
instantly
youngster
understood
found
that
a
he was
gap
not
and
Yi
punched
Chen's
him in the
opponent
chest.
in terms of aura.
Pooh. It was
Puking
just
out
like
a
when he
mouthful
was
of
facing
blood,
the young
the
elephant
yellow-robed
lord.
youngster
In
was
terms of
blown
aura,
backward.
he was at a
Following
complete
closely
disadvantage.
behind,
The brown-robed
competing
youngster
with Yi
threw
Chen's
another
aura,
punch at the
Wei
head of the
Minghui
yellow-robed
sneered
youngster.
as he sent a Zhen
All
Yuan
of a sudden,
transmission to
the
Yi
aggressive
Chen.
fist
Be
power
careful of
shattered
his
the head of the yellow-robed youngster.
It's very strange.
Then,
a
containing a
strange
will
scene
attack
happened.
that can shake the space.
After the yellow-robed
I've seen it
youngster's
before.
head exploded,
Yi
his
Chen
whole body
faintly
started
nodded.
to fade.
In the
and so
savage
did the
ruin
blood
ancient
mist.
place,
A
Yang
life and
Feng
death
Feng
stone
had
surrounded by
exchanged
two
blows
colored
with
Chi
Mo Chi
Lu
Lu
of
of
the
the
Sky
Sky
Tiger
Tiger
clan.
clan.
Holding
At
the
that
life
time,
and death
he had
stone
also
in his
seen
hand,
Mo Chi
the
Lu use Sky
brown-robed youngster
Tiger roar.
laughed out loud.
Although its power
With
was
this
far
life and
inferior
death
to the
stone,
young
as
Tiger
long as
Lord's
his
Sky
luck was
Tiger
not
roar,
bad,
the
he would be
essence
able
was
to
the
reach
same.
the life and
Take
death
this.
challenge realm.
The young
After
Tiger
all,
Lord roared
those
as
who
his
came
body
to the life and death
waving
secret
out
realm
a claw
all
attack.
had extremely high
This
potential.
time, the young
Even
Tiger
without
Lord
the life
did not
and death
hold back
stone,
at all.
they would still
He
have a
used
great
all of his
chance
power,
of reaching the life
forming
and
a
death
massive
challenge
tiger
realm.
claw with
The
a
life
powerful
and death
vibration.
stone could only save them a lot of time. Yi
Of
Chen's
course,
expression
what
did
the
not
martial
change as he
geniuses
took a step
lacked was
forward,
time.
stabbing
Hey,
out his evil
someone is
shattering
coming.
sword.
The
Different
brown-robed
from Bei
youngster's
Minghui,
expression
the latter
changed.
did not have much
The life
time to
and death
react
stone
when
merged
merged
with
with
his
his Tiger
body,
Lord's attack,
and his speed
so he had
increased
only gathered
drastically.
80% of
Within
his
a
power.
blink of an eye,
On the other
he
hand,
had disappeared
Yi
into the
Chen's sword
horizon.
steps were
He
extremely
sure
fast.
runs fast.
Not only
From
was he
afar,
faster than
Yi
the young
Chen
Tiger
had
Lord,
arrived,
but his
looking
attack
at
was
the
also
place
much
where the
faster.
brown-robed youngster
The
had
evil
disappeared.
shattering sword
He felt
flashed
a bit
once,
regretful.
and a cold star
One life
appeared
and
in the
death stone
void.
had a 90% chance
The young
of helping
Tiger
a
Lord
high-rank
did not
half-step
expect
king
that he
warrior
would be
reach
at
the
a
life-and-death
disadvantage
challenge
after
realm.
making the first
Although
move.
it only referred to the
Seeing that
martial
his protective
geniuses
Zhen
and not
Yuan
all
was
of the
about to be
high-rank
pierced
half-step
through,
king
the
warriors,
tail behind
everyone
him
who
waved
came
out
here was a
crazily,
martial
planning to
genius.
fight with Yi Chen.
Inside the
He
savage
was
mountains
confident
of the
that
Blood
he would
Sky
only be
Land,
lightly
the
wounded
place
at
where the
most,
life and death
while Yi
door
Chen
had
would be
once
heavily
appeared
wounded.
pop.
The
The
body of a
space
beast
twisted,
was much
and a
more
yellow-robed
powerful than a
youngster
human's.
appeared.
But
Damn,
he had
if I don't
miscalculated.
take revenge,
As
I will
Yi
not
Chen
be a
stabbed
human
out
anymore.
with his sword,
The
he
yellow-robed
immediately
youngster
took a step
had
back.
an evil look on his
That
face.
long tiger tail
There were
brushed
not many
past his
life and
chest,
death stones
and that
in the
beast
outer
claw
area
did not
of
hurt
the
Yi
life
Chen
and
at
death
all.
secret realm.
Chin.
So Yi Chen
Sparks
did not
flew
want to waste any
everywhere
more
as a
time
round
here.
dot appeared on the
Thousand-year
young
life
Tiger Lord's
grass,
shoulder.
life fruit.
Inside was a shiny armor, which was definitely not a normal one. It might even be a top semi-extreme grade armor, or even a pseudo-extreme grade. Blood leaked out of the corner of his mouth as the young Tiger Lord licked his lips and swallowed it before saying with a cruel voice, "No wonder you are so arrogant. It turns out that you are unique in your sword arts." Facing Yi Chen's fast sword, he had only suffered a light wound, and that was only because he was wearing a pseudo-extreme grade armor. Such a fast sword art. It is my first time seeing it. The long-haired youngster and the brown-haired lady's eyes brightened. But my power is not just this. Let's see my real power. Young Tiger Lord's body tumbled in the void, instantly turning into a dozens of meters tall and dozens of meters long silver-white tiger. The tiger tattoo on his forehead looked like king and sky at the same time. A boundless tiger might radiate it out in all directions. The heavenly tiger's bloodline is extremely rich. A true heavenly tiger's fur was platinum, and the silver color was only a step away from the platinum color. It was already very close. After transforming into his true form, young Tiger Lord's battle strength rose once again. His long tail seemed as if it wanted to tear the space apart, twisting and twisting the space. However, even with his true form, young Tiger Lord couldn't gain the slightest advantage against Yi Chen. On the contrary, because he was a huge target, sword wounds appeared on his body, making him bleed profusely. Yi Chen's strength not only shocked young Tiger Lord, but also the geniuses of True Spirit Continent and Blood Sky Continent. True Spirit Continent's geniuses were at least mentally prepared, but Blood Sky Continent's geniuses were seeing Yi Chen for the first time. Seeing Yi Chen beating the fourth-ranked young Tiger Lord into such a miserable state, how could they not be shocked? Their eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets.
hits. I'm afraid this person is not as simple as a famous person of true spirit continent. The aquiline-nosed youngster saw through some clues and squinted his eyes. He, such strength, there's no need to worry. I'm afraid his strength is not inferior to yours. The brown-haired woman let out a sigh of relief. Yi Chen's performance was indeed astonishing. With only the first layer of life and death chamber, he had suppressed young Tiger Lord, who was at the peak of the second layer. This was not inferior to the long-haired youngster beside him. It should be known that the long-haired youngster was already at the top of the life and death substitute list 10 years ago, second only to Luo Tianju. Indeed, there's no need to worry. I just don't know if this is his final battle strength. The long-haired youngster said. Could it be that this is not his final battle strength? The brown-haired woman was puzzled. The more young Tiger Lord fought, the more apprehensive and powerless he became. No matter how he attacked, he couldn't threaten Yi Chen at all. On the contrary, Yi Chen casually waved his sword and left a sword mark on his body. After transforming into his true form, his battle strength had indeed increased, but the pseudo-supreme grade armor had also entered his body, reducing his defense somewhat. Damn it! Young Tiger Lord's hair stood on end as his surging demonic power bombarded Yi Chen, intending to suppress the latter with his higher cultivation base. Waning moon. Yi Chen's blue robes fluttered as he slashed out. The waning moon sword energy tore apart the demonic power and bombarded young Tiger Lord's body, causing blood to splatter everywhere. Heavenly Tiger Roar. Young Tiger Lord fought a bloody battle and finally used his innate ability in his true form, Heavenly Tiger Roar. Compared to his human form, the current Heavenly Tiger Roar's might was several times stronger. The space warped, distorting the trajectory of Yi Chen's sword. The sound wave containing the will swept across Yi Chen's body. Yi Chen's complexion slightly changed. The Heavenly Tiger's roar caused wrinkles to appear in the space, adding a hidden energy. It was as if he was training his sword underwater. The turbulent water flow affected the sword's trajectory. As for the sound wave containing the will, it was completely ignored by him. With his fifth step destruction sword intent, how could he be injured by a will? Die. Seeing Yi Chen's sword trajectory being affected and deviated, young Tiger Lord laughed heartily and clawed at the air. This claw was powerful enough to shatter rocks. You're the one who's going to die. Strangely, a spatial ripple appeared at Yi Chen's location, counteracting the effect of the Heavenly Tiger Roar. Like a phantom, Yi Chen's sword trajectory adjusted, following young Tiger Lord's flaw and piercing his throat. Young Tiger Lord's voice came to a screeching halt as his eyes opened wide. Stop! Eagle piercing the sky. The hook-nosed youngster roared, and a boundless demonic power surged out of his body, transforming into a demonic eagle and pouncing at Yi Chen. You think my true spirit continent has no one? The long-haired youngster's figure flickered several times faster than the wind. Chapter 847. Rumble. The long-haired young man's speed was way too fast. Although he was quite close to Yi Chen, one was using an energy attack while the other was using a movement art. Logically speaking, the energy attack should have arrived first. However, the long-haired young man managed to arrive before the beast power eagle, shattering it with a palm blade attack. So fast. The hawk-nosed youngster was quite astonished. What a powerful attack. The long-haired youngster was equally astonished. Although he had dispersed the demonic power eagle, his palm had gone numb, and his blood and chi were fluctuating. Who are you? Do you dare state your name? The hawk-nosed youngster coldly said. The long-haired youngster's expression was indifferent. Feng Piaoling. Ranked 14th on the life and death substitute list. No wonder he has such strength. The hawk-nosed youngster suddenly understood. The life and death substitute list was filled with young experts. Being ranked 10th, one could well imagine his strength, which was much higher than young Tiger Lord's. Who are you? Feng Piaoling asked. Young Eagle. One of the 8 young beast lords, Young Eagle. Feng Piaoling had heard of Young Eagle Lord's name. This person was similar to Yi Chen and Dugu Ju of True Spirit Continent. In Blood Sky Continent, his strength was even higher than young Tiger Lord's, and he was unfathomable.
It was said that even a young genius ranked 17th on the life and death substitute list was easily defeated by young Eagle Lord. Creak. The sword was pulled out, and blood spurted everywhere as Yi Chen retreated 3 steps. You dare kill me? I'll make you regret it. Young Tiger Lord clutched his neck, his voice hoarse. It seemed like Yi Chen's sword had only pierced his throat, but the powerful destruction sword Qi had already followed the wound and destroyed his vitality, shattering his 5 viscera and 6 bowels. Since you're here, you should prepare to leave early. Yi Chen didn't take young Tiger Lord's threat to heart. If he was afraid of this and that, he might as well not come to life and death secret realm. You, just, wait. With these 3 words, young Tiger Lord's body gradually faded, eventually disappearing from life and death secret realm. What a mysterious place. Yi Chen slightly creased his brows. Life and death secret realm gave them the ability to be reborn from a single drop of blood. Even if they died inside, it wouldn't be the same as dying for real. They would only be teleported out. Of course, teleporting out ahead of time would also be a huge loss. After killing the young Tiger Lord with 1 sword attack, Yi Chen's reputation had risen to a whole new level. There were not many who dared to challenge him. He could even kill the young Tiger Lord, so why would he care about them? You killed young Tiger Lord and made him leave the life and death secret realm ahead of time. Once he leaves, you will be in big trouble. Unfortunately, it is already too late. Young Eagle Lord wasn't boasting shamelessly. Yi Chen and Feng Piaoling joining hands was enough to threaten his life. In any case, he and young Tiger Lord weren't on good terms. However, he couldn't bear to see the people of Blood Sky Continent being killed. He looked at Yi Chen as if he was looking at a dead man. Feng Piaoling sneered, Yi Chen also has a life and death king protecting him in True Spirit Continent. Xianhu, you should know. Who in Sky Tiger Master sect dares to disregard Xianhu? He didn't mention Dragon King, because Dragon King had become famous too early and had been very low-key in his later years. He was only famous among life and death kings, unlike Xianhu, who had become famous 20 to 30 years ago. Everyone in Elysium knew her name, especially among the young generation. Xianhu. Hearing Feng Piaoling's words, young Tiger Master was indeed astonished. Xianhu was not only the #1 genius of True Spirit Continent in 1,000 years, but also the #1 genius of Elysium in 1,000 years. Back then, she had been invincible all the way to life and death realm. Her fame was so great that even the deaf could hear it. If Xianhu protected Yi Chen, Sky Tiger Master sect might not dare to act rashly. Distant water can't put out a nearby fire. Moreover, do you think that the 10 great beast sects of Blood Sky Continent will let their kings do as they please? Leaving behind these ruthless words, young Tiger Master turned into a rainbow light and left without any hesitation. Seeing young Tiger Master leave, the other young experts of Blood Sky Continent naturally wouldn't stay. They secretly sized up Yi Chen one by one before whizzing away. Waiting until all the people of Blood Sky Continent had left, Feng Piaoling walked in front of Yi Chen. I've wanted to meet you for a long time. I'm Feng Piaoling of Wind Pavilion. Wind Pavilion was one of the 9 great sects of True Spirit Continent. Together with Evil King's Evil King Pavilion, they were known as the Twin Pavilions. Cauldron King sect's Ji Hai Ruo. The brown-haired woman also walked over. Although Cauldron King sect wasn't one of the 9 great sects, it was still a very powerful 5th-grade sect. As for Ji Hai Ruo, she was ranked 18th on the life and death substitute list. Sky Cloud sect's Yi Chen. Yi Chen nodded with a faint smile and introduced himself. Feng Piaoling chuckled, we all know that you're from Yi family and the Supreme Elder of Sky Cloud sect. Among the numerous peak geniuses of True Spirit Continent, your background is the smallest. This is precisely what I admire. The 3 didn't put on airs, so they chatted with each other. Oh right, Yi Chen, you've killed young Tiger Master. I'm afraid that Sky Tiger Master won't ignore it. You'd better be careful. Feng Piaoling reminded Yi Chen. Yeah. Although Sky Tiger Master can't contend against Mysterious Sect, you're in Blood Sky Continent after all. The life and death kings of the 2 places rarely interact, and rarely visit each other's territory. Ji Hai Ruo nodded. Yi Chen smiled bitterly. Not only did I kill young Tiger Master, I also killed young Wolf Master. What? You killed young Wolf Master? I really don't know what to say about you. Ji Hai Ruo's eyes widened. They were different from Yi Chen. After leaving Life and Death Secret Realm, they directly appeared on True Spirit Continent. Therefore, even if they killed the geniuses of Blood Sky Continent and made them leave Life and Death Secret Realm ahead of time, the forces of Blood Sky Continent wouldn't dare to come to True Spirit Continent to settle accounts with them. However, Yi Chen came from Blood Sky Continent. Sigh. Feng Piaoling shook his head, unable to help. I'll take it one step at a time. Perhaps, I'll be able to pass this hurdle. Yi Chen wasn't a person who was afraid of trouble. He was confident that as long as his cultivation base reached the third layer, he would be able to contend even if he encountered a Life and Death King. After all, compared to ordinary Life and Death Kings, he didn't fall behind in many aspects. On the contrary, he even surpassed them. For example, fifth step destruction sword intent and profound martial skills. The only things he lacked were Jin Yuan and physical strength. I hope so. In their hearts, Feng Piaoling and Ji Hai Ruo didn't want Yi Chen to fall. It would be too much of a pity for such a genius to die. Yi Chen, many thanks. Beiming Hui's injuries weren't that serious, and the Life and Death Secret Realm had a healing effect as well. After recovering, Beiming Hui cupped his fists toward Yi Chen. It's nothing. We're from True Spirit Continent, and internal competition is internal competition. Encountering this kind of thing, I naturally won't just stand by and watch. Yi Chen said. You're right. Beiming Hui had a new understanding of Yi Chen. In his heart, he didn't just view him as a rival, but also as a friend. Afterward, Yi Chen chatted with Sichu Hao for a while. Sichu Hao and Yi Chen also had some conflicts, but they had turned the hostility into friendship and exchanged martial skills. As soon as the event ended, an intense battle was taking place on the other side of the inner area. There were no onlookers. The two sides were a man and a woman. The man had a muscular build, and his shoulders were wide and his legs were long. His aura was extremely aggressive, and it was not any weaker than Chu Zhongtian's. His weapons were two swords. In his right hand was a huge sword that was almost as long as his body, and in his left was a thin sword. The two swords were one big and one small, one wide and one thin. When combined, it was flawless. The woman was a gentle and beautiful woman in golden robes. If Yi Chen were here, he would certainly feel his heart palpitate, because this golden-robed woman was none other than Xu Jing, who had disappeared for many years. At this moment, apart from being gentle and quiet, Xu Jing also had a trace of domineeringness, a domineeringness that was different from men. Boom, 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 boom. The battle between the two was intense and violent. It was like countless shooting stars clashing together. Eat my sword. The bulky young man held the huge sword in his right hand and slashed down with all his might. The sword light was extremely huge, and before it even reached its target, a dozens of miles-long sword pit had already appeared on the ground. Dang! Xu Jing's fist landed on the huge sword, causing sparks to fly everywhere. Her power seemed light, but it almost made the bulky young man lose his grip on the huge sword. Xu Jing's fist seemed to contain a huge mountain and a vast ocean. How can this woman have such a horrifying power? The bulky young man was shocked. He could tell that Xu Jing was a body training expert, and not just a normal one at that. But he himself was also a body training expert. In his eyes, Xu Jing's fist power was extremely horrifying, and his sword arts could not be connected at all. I, Marquis Sword Tyrant, don't believe that I can't deal with you. Marquis Sword Tyrant came from another continent, the Sky Sword Continent. He was one of the 10 swords of the Sky Sword Continent's youth generation, and specialized in Slaughter Sword Dao's dual swords. Ordinary strongest half-step kings wouldn't even have the qualifications to make him use dual swords. However, Xu Jing's strength had already surpassed his imagination. If he didn't use dual swords, he wouldn't even be able to take 3 moves. Assassination Sword. The instant he lost his balance, Marquis Sword Tyrant thrust the thin sword in his left hand toward Xu Jing's forehead. The sword light was dim and indistinct, making it easy to overlook.
Without even looking, Xu Jing flicked the thin sword with her finger. Clang! The thin sword bounced off. Raising her right leg high, Xu Jing chopped down on Marquis Sword Tyrant's chest. Peng! Like a cannonball, Marquis Sword Tyrant was sent flying. His peak pseudo-supreme grade armor seemed to have caved in a little, and many of his ribs were broken. Spurting out a mouthful of blood, he turned into a bloody rainbow. Damn it! How can she be so powerful? Marquis Sword Tyrant was unwilling to accept this outcome. He forcefully suppressed his retreating figure, but the recoil made him spurt out another mouthful of blood. His complexion was incomparably pale. My most powerful move is the Slaughter Star, which was created based on the Slaughter Sword Dao. Die. Taking a deep breath, Marquis Sword Tyrant leaped up. Looking down from above, he crossed his two swords and furiously slashed down. The flickering sword light interweaved into a cross, looking like twinkling stars in the sky. Star-shattering fist. Standing in place without moving, Xu Jing's long hair fluttered without any wind, looking like dancing flames. As she punched out, the space became still, and the sky suddenly darkened. Starlight flickered everywhere, as if she had arrived in the starry sky. Shortly after, a star shattered, and the location of that star was precisely Marquis Sword Tyrant's position. Marquis Sword Tyrant's figure gradually faded. One could see a huge hole in his chest, but there was no blood flowing out. Raising her eyes, Xu Jing said indifferently, "Both of you are sword artists, but your sword arts are far inferior to another." The image of Yi Chen flashed through her mind. Who is he? Marquis Sword Tyrant really wanted to ask who Xu Jing was talking about. Unfortunately, he was already dead, and when he next appeared, he would be in the Sky Sword continent. Chapter 848. The reason they came to the secret realm was to get life and death stones. If there were too many of them, the efficiency would be lower. Therefore, Yi Chen and Feng Piaoling did not hunt the evil spirits together, and soon separated. In the inner area, there were many life and death evil spirits. Sometimes, there were even 2 or 3 life and death evil spirits gathered together. Sometimes, there were some strange life and death evil spirits, such as ghost evil spirits without a specific shape or self-explosion evil spirits. These evil spirits might not be powerful, but they were hard to defend against. Shoo! The sword light flashed through a misty evil spirit. The evil spirit disappeared, and a life and death stone floated in the air. Finally got the second life and death stone. After separating from Feng Piaoling and the rest for half a month, Yi Chen was able to kill 1 or 2 life and death evil spirits every day. After half a month, he had killed 24 life and death evil spirits, and only now did he obtain the second one. It was not easy at all. I need 2 life and death stones to get from the first to the second level. I still need 1 more to be able to enter the second level. With a wave of Zhen Yuan in his palm, the life and death stone merged into his body as Yi Chen thought to himself. Let's find the life and death bridge first. He needed to find the life and death bridge first. There were only 4 life and death bridges in the inner area that led to the core area, which were not as many as the outer area and the inner area. On the way, Yi Chen suddenly stopped. In the distance, an unwilling roar was heard. Why? 2 life and death stones still could not help me enter the life and death chamber. Could it be that my potential is not as good as others? It was a normal-looking teenager who had made the roar. His cultivation was not low at all, having reached the top half-step king warrior level. His Zhen Yuan was quite rich as well. Shaking his head, Yi Chen had seen this scene for the second time. Although the people who came to the life and death secret realm were all top young martial geniuses with great potential, not everyone could make a breakthrough smoothly. Besides a small part of luck, it also had to do with an unstable foundation. Therefore, every time the life and death secret realm opened, although half of the people could get life and death stones, only a quarter of them could make a breakthrough. After spending 3 days, Yi Chen found the life and death bridge that led to the core area. There was not a single person beside it. Taking a step forward, Yi Chen arrived at the bridge. Buzz 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 buzz. This was different from the life and death bridge that connected the outer region to the inner region.
The stone statues on this life and death bridge roared, sending ripples of sound waves towards Yi Chen. Aside from being extremely powerful, these sound waves could also numb one's body and cause their quintessence to become unstable. If one was not careful, they would immediately be injured by the sound waves. I am afraid that without the peak of the first level of the life and death challenge, it would be hard to cross this bridge. The sound waves are way too powerful. Yi Chen was struggling. In terms of strength, he was naturally not at the peak of the first layer of life and death challenge. However, in terms of cultivation base, he was already at this realm. The sound waves emitted by the stone statue contained life and death qi. Every time it vibrated, it was an exchange of life and death qi. Energy attacks and protective Jin Yuan could not completely shatter the sound waves. Therefore, the requirement for cultivation base was extremely high. Too slow. By relying on his cultivation, Yi Chen could indeed cross the life and death bridge. However, it would consume a great deal of quintessential essence. Moreover, there was no need to look for trouble. He released his sword domain, and the sound waves were immediately neutralized. Yi Chen's body flickered as he crossed the bridge. How could that guy cross the bridge so easily? Far behind him, a young genius noticed the scene on the bridge, and a trace of doubt flashed through his face. As far as he knew, even geniuses at the second layer of life and death chamber would not be able to cross the bridge easily. As for those at the third layer, it would be quite easy, but they would not be like Yi Chen, whose body flashed and flew across the bridge. He did not see the scene of Yi Chen struggling. Could it be that there is something wrong with this bridge? A joyful expression flashed through the young man's face. Shoo! Without any hesitation, the young man flew over and jumped onto the bridge. Buzz! Merely 2 rings of sound waves were enough to send the young man flying back while puking blood. The powerful vibrations even tore apart his clothes, leaving him naked. Fuck! Playing with me! The young man howled miserably. Fuck! How can the evil spirits here be so powerful? Somewhere in the core area, a young genius at the peak of the first layer of life and death challenge was pierced through by a snake-shaped evil spirit and sent out of the secret realm. If I had known earlier, I would not have come to the core area. Too powerful. These evil spirits are simply monstrous. This scene was happening everywhere. Those who were killed were first layer life and death challenge and second layer life and death challenges. High-level evil spirits. Exterminating a life and death evil spirit with difficulty, young Eagle Lord muttered to himself. The life and death evil spirits in the secret realm did not have any ranks. However, the people who entered had divided them into 4 ranks. They were low-level evil spirits, mid-level evil spirits, high-level evil spirits, and peak evil spirits. Low-level evil spirits usually appeared in the outer area, mid-level evil spirits in the inner area, and high-level and peak evil spirits in the core area. Low and mid-level evil spirits were not very strong. High-level evil spirits had the strength of the second layer, while the stronger ones had reached the third layer. As for peak-level evil spirits, they were not existences that could be killed by a single person. Even existences like Young Elephant Lord and Young Undying Demon Lord would have to flee upon encountering peak-level evil spirits to avoid being exhausted to death. In the past 1,000 years, only a few people could kill a peak evil spirit alone, and one of them was precisely Shenhu. I was careless. Near the center of the core area, an unwilling expression flickered on Liu Wujian's face. His waist had been cut into 2, and his body was gradually fading away. Not far behind him stood a humanoid evil spirit with a long horn on its head. Its figure was extremely clear, and its skin was like scales. If it had intelligence, it would not be an exaggeration to regard it as a living being. The savage aura it emitted was too frightening. In fact, if Liu Wujian had been a bit more cautious, he would have had the opportunity to escape the moment he encountered this life and death evil spirit. However, he didn't. He thought that by relying on the life and death stone and raising his cultivation base to the second layer of life and death chamber, he would be able to walk unhindered in life and death secret realm. He was wrong. I almost died. In another location, Yang Fengfeng let out a breath and looked into the distance with lingering fear. That life and death evil spirit was extremely frightening. If not for her speed,
she would not have been able to escape in a battle. Something's wrong. Why are peak evil spirits so easy to encounter this time? I remember last time, there were only a few of them in the core area. Luo Tianju's face was full of confusion. Could it be because the quality of the geniuses this time is too high, and the number is too many? Luo Tianju thought of a possibility. Worthy of being a high-rank evil spirit, killing low-rank and mid-rank evil spirits did not require much effort from Yi Chen. Although it was still easy for him to kill high-rank evil spirits, it was impossible for him to do so without any effort. Especially the ghost evil spirits and the self-exploding evil spirits. Even young warriors at the third layer of Life and Death Challenge would find themselves in a difficult situation if they were careless. The core area was not that big, and the number of evil spirits was not as big as the inner area. However, they were very densely distributed. Along the way, Yi Chen saw a lot of people being killed by high-rank evil spirits and teleported out of Life and Death Secret Realm. Those who were able to survive were all elites among elites. Facing two high-rank evil spirits, Yi Chen waved his hand, and the broken blood sword turned into 33 sword shadows, shooting out like lightning. Puff, 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 puff. The two high-rank evil spirits were riddled with holes even though they were several li away. A life and death stone floated in the air. Life and death stone. Dozens of li away, two figures were flying in the sky. They sensed the life and death aura coming from the stone, and their eyes brightened. "Kid, if you don't want to die, get lost." One of them yelled at Yi Chen. Yi Chen ignored him completely. He stretched out his palm, and a powerful suction force appeared. The life and death stone fell into Yi Chen's hand with a swish. The third life and death stone. A smile appeared on Yi Chen's face as he fused the stone into his body. "You are courting death." Both of them were young geniuses at the second layer of Life and Death Challenge, while Yi Chen was only at the first layer. They originally thought that Yi Chen would be afraid of their strength and give up on this life and death stone. Who would have thought that Yi Chen would not give them any face at all? Boom! Jin Yuan burst out of the two's bodies, and their auras rushed toward Yi Chen, intending to launch a fierce attack. Standing where he was without moving, Yi Chen looked at the two coldly. "Awoo!" Right at this moment, the ground loosened, and a huge wolf evil spirit broke out of the ground, blocking the two's path. The giant wolf evil spirit was as large as a small mountain. The fur on its body was vivid and lifelike, and the savage aura it emitted was almost tangible, thick like ink. Compared to it, high-grade evil spirits were not even worth mentioning, and would definitely be killed in an instant. How can there be a peak-level evil spirit here? The two were horrified, and their eyes were wide open. "Run!" One of them yelled and flew away, not daring to face the evil spirit. However, the evil spirit's speed was much faster than theirs, and the distance between them was not too far. In a few blinks of an eye, it had caught up. Poochie. With a wave of its right claw, one of them was torn into two halves. Its body collided, and the other turned into a blood mist. The battle strength of the evil spirit was completely above the peak of the third layer of Life and Death Challenge. There was no doubt about it. This is a peak-level evil spirit. Yi Chen sucked in a deep breath, his expression incomparably solemn. After killing the two, the evil spirit turned its head and locked its cruel gaze on Yi Chen. Although it had no intelligence, it could feel that Yi Chen was different from others. Others would run away upon encountering such an existence, and no one would dare to stay. However, Yi Chen did so. Swish! The evil spirit bent its hind legs and shot over. In Battle King's memories, there was information about peak-level evil spirits. Although Battle King was astonishingly talented, when he first entered Life and Death Secret Realm, he had spent an entire day to kill a peak-level evil spirit. From this, one could see how powerful and frightening peak-level evil spirits were. Chapter 849. The giant wolf evil spirit's speed was extremely fast. With a flicker of illusory light, it appeared in front of Yi Chen. Its thick and powerful right claw ferociously slammed down, leaving cracks in the space. It had the ability to shatter space, even if it was not comparable to a life and death king. It can actually tear space. Yi Chen's pupils shrank. The giant wolf evil spirit's battle strength was even above his imagination. Circulating the Zhen Yuan in his body to the limit, his blood almost igniting. Finally, it flowed along the flesh of his right arm and converged on the evil vanquishing sword. The sword blossomed with a jade-like sword light as it slashed forward. Clang. Pa. The giant wolf evil spirit's claw collided with the evil vanquishing sword, causing the space to sway. A few pitch-black cracks appeared in the space before finally collapsing. Under this space-shattering power, Yi Chen's evil vanquishing sword curved into a shocking arc before fiercely rebounding, sending Yi Chen flying 3 to 4 li away. At the same time, a frightening ripple spread out in the open space between the two. The ground was scraped open one layer after another, reaching dozens of zhong deep. So powerful. This was the first time Yi Chen was at a disadvantage under life and death realm. The giant wolf evil spirit's offensive power was undoubtedly above his. Swish. After a slight pause in the air, the giant wolf evil spirit pounced at Yi Chen once again. Wherever it went, the space would distort, making it difficult to understand. With his undying body, Yi Chen wasn't injured in the slightest. He lightly stomped on the ground and leaped up. The evil vanquishing sword in his hand emitted hundreds of cold stars. It was precisely his fastest sword art, spiritual sword. As soon as spiritual sword was unleashed, Yi Chen's perception was pushed to the limit. Each sword strike aimed at the giant wolf evil spirit's flaws. Ow! The giant wolf evil spirit roared and crashed into the dense net of cold stars. In the next moment, numerous flat sword holes appeared on its huge body. The sword holes exploded and expanded to the size of a fist. Moreover, it paused in the air for a moment, showing signs of rigidity. Waning moon. Holding the sword with both hands, Yi Chen forcefully slashed down. Poochie. The black waning moon embedded itself into the giant wolf vicious spirit's head, moving along its chest. A small half of its body was almost cut open, radiance surging. However, a peak evil spirit was still a peak evil spirit. It was extremely difficult to disperse. Even after being struck by Yi Chen's waning moon, it was still as lively as ever. Its two front claws slashed at Yi Chen. The edges of the claws had black cracks that contained a powerful suction force. Dang! The giant wolf evil spirit's attack was too fast. Yi Chen only had time to raise his sword to block it. Under the power of the space-shattering force, his whole body flew out diagonally. Finally, his feet landed on the ground and slid out. The soil on the ground surged, and a deep ravine was formed. The first level of life and death challenge is still a bit low. Frowning, Yi Chen realized that there were some internal injuries in his body. Fortunately, the immortal body was currently healing these internal injuries and adjusting his bodily functions. Do I have to use the Sky Scorpio sword? Yi Chen was slightly hesitant. No, the Sky Scorpio sword is my last resort. It's best not to rely on it unless it's a matter of life and death. Otherwise, once I become dependent on it, there will be unpredictable obstacles to my cultivation. The gains do not make up for the losses. Seems like I have to go all out. With a shake of his body, Yi Chen unleashed Sword Domain, enveloping the giant wolf evil spirit within. Sword Domain was the domain of a sword artist. Apart from its great offensive power, it also had the ability to suppress the opponent. The giant wolf evil spirit's speed was originally extremely fast, but under the suppression of Sword Domain, its speed was immediately reduced by 1/5. In Yi Chen's eyes, it instantly became sluggish. With Sword Domain, Yi Chen had a much easier time dealing with the evil spirit. At the very least, its movement and attack speed no longer made him feel tired. Of course, although its movement and attack speed had been reduced, the evil spirit was, after all, a peak-level evil spirit. Yi Chen's attacks simply couldn't injure it. At most, he could create some small scars. Moreover, out of every 10 attacks, one would still land on Yi Chen's body. The life and death chi of a peak-level evil spirit is too abundant. It can completely exhaust my Jin Yuan and then kill me. No wonder Battle King needed a whole day to kill a peak-level evil spirit. Yi Chen sighed,
his eyes turning sharp. Bewitching mirror shattering. Retreating, Yi Chen's evil vanquishing sword was wrapped in an invisible spatial power. At a glance, the sword seemed to be twisted and folded, making it impossible to see the sword's trajectory. It was as if the evil vanquishing sword's attack range was everywhere. Unable to dodge, the evil spirit was struck by the evil vanquishing sword. Buzz. In the next moment, the evil spirit was sealed in a mirror-like space. The mirror-like space rapidly twisted and shattered. Within the void, cracks could be seen everywhere, and the suction power became chaotic. By relying on bewitching mirror shattering, Yi Chen also had the ability to shatter space. Awu! Countless hideous cracks appeared on the surface of the giant wolf evil spirit's body. The shallowest crack was several inches deep, and the deepest crack almost tore the giant wolf evil spirit in half. The terrifying destructive power far surpassed that of the waning moon sword technique. Hey! It's a token. Through the cracks, Yi Chen saw a stone token inside the evil spirit's body. It's a life and death token. The name of an item appeared in Yi Chen's mind. Life and Death Secret Realm was divided into 3 regions: the outer region, the inner region, and the core region. The core region had a life and death palace, and the most basic requirement to enter it was a life and death token. In other words, the life and death token was the pass to enter Life and Death Palace. But it's still not quite possible to kill this top-level evil spirit. Yi Chen smiled bitterly. In his eyes, the injuries on the evil spirit's body were recovering at a visible speed. Of course, at the same time, the evil spirit's life and death chi was also decreasing, not as dense as before. However, this was Life and Death Secret Realm, and life and death chi was everywhere. Relying on its instinct, the evil spirit began absorbing life and death chi from the outside world to replenish itself. Either run away immediately, or use absolute strength to shatter its body. There's no third way to kill it. Yi Chen had a deep understanding of peak evil spirits. In almost a blink of an eye, the giant wolf evil spirit's battle power recovered to its peak. Yi Chen didn't know whether it was his misconception or not, but the evil spirit seemed to be a bit more tyrannical than before. Its dense ink-like savage aura even caused the space to fluctuate slightly. Kill. Unwavering confidence, Yi Chen didn't retreat. Instead, he advanced, raising his sword to meet the evil spirit. The evil vanquishing sword in his hand blossomed with sword chi that seemed to want to shatter space. Rumble. One wolf and one man battled once again. Berserk chi ripples swept out in all directions, and could be clearly felt even from 10,000 li away. Who's fighting? Such frightening ripples. Could it be that someone is joining hands to deal with a peak-level evil spirit? Peak-level evil spirits have life and death tokens inside their bodies. Only those with life and death tokens can enter Life and Death Palace. Seems like someone can't wait any longer and is looking for a partner. Although there weren't many young experts left in the core area, and most of them had been transported out, the core area wasn't that big, and the distance between them wasn't that far. Thus, there were only 6 or 7 people who sensed the commotion. However, they didn't think that someone was fighting a peak-level evil spirit alone. A peak-level evil spirit was not something that a single person could contend against. They really wanted to go and take a look, but they didn't dare. In the secret realm, everyone was an opponent. If they went, they would be courting death. If they didn't get killed by a peak-level evil spirit, then they would be killed by a group of young experts. Patience was a must. Yi Chen's current situation was extremely bad. The evil spirit was like a perpetual motion machine that would never tire. The battle had already gone on for 2 hours, and the evil spirit was still in peak condition. On the other hand, Yi Chen was gradually getting tired. In the end, Yi Chen was a human, a living being with flesh and blood. He had his limits. Clang. Sparks flew everywhere as Yi Chen was struck by the evil spirit for the first time. The clothes on his chest were torn apart, and the pseudo-extreme grade bronze armor exploded with blazing sparks. Spurting out a mouthful of blood, Yi Chen's entire body was flung away, and his sword domain was broken by itself. Not good. Circulating his undying body with all his might, Yi Chen pushed his sword steps to the limit. With a slight flicker,
he evaded the evil spirit's consecutive attacks. Roar. Letting out a roar, the evil spirit tilted its head and spat out a light beam condensed from life and death chi. The light beam shattered the space and landed on Yi Chen's shoulder. His body tumbling, Yi Chen was buried deep into the ground. Boom. 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 The evil spirit wouldn't let Yi Chen go so easily. The meaning of its existence was to kill anyone who entered the life and death secret realm. The ground was rolling and shaking. The land within dozens of miles seemed to have turned into brown boiling water, bringing up waves of dirt. If someone were to dive into the ground, he or she would find that the ground had turned into sand and was continuously rolling and shaking. In such a harsh environment, even a third-level life and death challenge warrior would not be able to make it out alive. After attacking the ground for hundreds of times, the evil spirit opened its mouth, and a light ball of life and death chi took shape. It then shot toward the center of the ground. Rumble. A sand fountain appeared on the ground, and the sky turned dusky. Hovering in the air, the evil spirit stopped attacking. It could sense that there was no longer any life fluctuation underground. This troublesome human was already dead. Life and death reincarnation. Life is not the starting point, and death is not the end. The lifeless underground suddenly burst forth with a powerful life force. Grass and trees grew at a visible speed on the destroyed land. In just a few moments, hundreds of li had turned into an oasis. The ground caved in, and Yi Chen flew out, his aura soaring. At this moment, he was in the second layer of life and death chamber. The life and death chi had vaguely formed a simple cycle, growing and multiplying without end. Speaking of which, I still have to thank you. Raising his head, Yi Chen looked at the evil spirit that was about to leave with an intense battle intent in his eyes. Swish. The evil spirit had no emotions and didn't know what shock was. Seeing that Yi Chen wasn't dead, it flashed over and continued to attack. Without retreating, Yi Chen swung the evil vanquishing sword. As the sword tip streaked across the space, it tore open a pitch-black crack. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,